ABC News, read by Mark Adenor. The head of the inquiry into the murder conviction of police killer David Harold Eastman has concluded he's fairly certain Eastman is guilty, but he's also found there's been a substantial miscarriage of justice. Gordon Taylor reports from the ACT Supreme Court.
The inquiry has recommended the murder conviction against David Eastman for the killing of one of Australia's top police officers in 1989 be quashed. Eastman has already served 19 years in jail for the murder of senior AFP officer Colin Winchester. The inquiry into his conviction uncovered serious doubts about the forensic evidence used to convict him. Inquiry head Justice Brian Martin found there'd been a serious miscarriage of justice and has not been given a fair trial. Justice Martin said he was fairly certain Eastman was guilty, but recommended the conviction be quashed because of the passage of time. Gordon Taylor, ABC News, Canberra.
At least 2,000 demonstrators are rallying in central Melbourne against the federal government's $7 Medicare co-payment. Freya Mickey reports.
Waving placards saying hands off Medicare and stop the cuts, protesters are united in their opposition to the proposed $7 Medicare co-payment. The rally has heard from doctors, midwives and Federal Labor's health spokeswoman Catherine King, who said the government was trying to attack Medicare. Other speakers say the federal budget is forcing the most vulnerable to do all the heavy lifting. Protesters are now marching down Swanston Street towards Federation Square. Freya Mickey, ABC News, Central Melbourne.
Unions say they are making transport on Sydney ferries free tonight to send a message to their employer about cuts to wages. Ferry workers will open the gates to travellers until 10 o'clock tonight on all services and until the last Manly ferry service at 11:45. The Maritime Union's Paul Garrett says staff are concerned about their future employment.
They've been asked to take wage outcomes less than CPI. Some workers have even been asked to take a $500 a week pay cut. They've made a determination that enough's enough. They want to go out there and work and succeed and make sure people enjoy Sydney Harbour, but not at a massive cut to conditions.
The bus manufacturer Custom Coaches has been placed in voluntary administration, putting about 100 jobs at risk in Adelaide. The Australian Manufacturing Workers Union says workers at Royal Park were told this morning. The company also has bus and coach maintenance facilities in 3 other states. The union says the company has contracts with the South Australian government to supply public transport buses. The former head of Renewal SA has appeared before a parliamentary committee into the Gilman land deal and defended it. Robin Powell reports.
The committee is examining why the state government gave a private consortium exclusive access to the 400-hectare parcel of land without it going to tender. Former Renewal SA Chief Fred Hansen told the inquiry previous valuations of the land were much lower than agreed to in the final deal.
In my view, it is clear that Adelaide Capital Partners' offer is good value.
Several Renewal SA members resigned after the deal. Liberal frontbencher and committee chair Rob Lucas says there are still unanswered questions.
But it's way too early to be suggesting after the first meeting that there's nothing further to look at here.
Mr Lucas says the committee intends to call the remaining board members before the inquiry.
Mr Hansen was involved in the deal as Chief of Renewal SA but has since been removed due to the government's decision to appoint some new public sector heads. The inquiry into the Hazelwood mine fire in eastern Victoria has heard fire agencies had no solid plan for protecting the health of firefighters during the blaze. Rihanna Whitson reports.
On the second day of the blaze, firefighters were experiencing headaches and being treated with paracetamol. 14 were later treated for carbon monoxide poisoning. The CFA knew the risk but did not implement procedures until a week into the fire. The Fire Services Commissioner Craig Lapsley admitted the delay was unacceptable. He also agreed that guidelines for the wearing of breathing apparatus were confusing and conflicting. Mr Lapsley told the inquiry the CFA and MFB will launch a health study of firefighters who attended the blaze. A community witness giving evidence said health information from government agencies created fear and anxiety among residents. Rihanna Whitson, ABC News, Smallville.
To the National Weather Force Saturday, Sydney expecting a few showers, a top of 20. Melbourne a little late rain, heading for 17. Brisbane a few showers, 23 degrees. In Perth, partly cloudy, 20. Adelaide morning rain, then showers, 15 degrees. Hobart mostly sunny, 14. In Canberra, a late shower or two, a top of 17. And Darwin, mostly sunny, an expected top of 33 degrees. ABC News.
Tap into the conversation about food and fibre production in Australia and overseas.
ABC Rural is the online hub for rural news, features, analysis and opinion produced by the ABC.
With specialist coverage from regional reporters,
Landline,
ABC News and Television,
RN and Radio Australia,
we dig deep and put it all in one place.
abc.net.au/rural.
On your mobile, desktop or just search ABC Rural.
The guys who want to play in a premiership and be a good team, they want to play with blokes who have the same attitude. That's what good clubs are all about.
It was the simple stuff. Had a bit of space, kicked the ball forward and won contest. I suspect in 10 years' time in big games, that'll still be the most important thing.
The great wins is when you coach against a side that is better than you and you win. They're the great moments that you remember.
Bangs the Roos inside, 50 to the Coventry and
Don't tell me he can do it again.
Yes.
Receives it again. Sides it home for another goal.
Dwyer from inside the centre square. Out towards Elliott.
Onto the left boot. The goal umpire never moved. In fact, he almost broke out into applause as he watched it go over his head.
Grandstand AFL.
Oh, Watson with the gloves. Sharked it.
Grandstand AFL.
Live and commercial free.
You're with Grandstand on ABC Local Radio and on ABC Grandstand Digital.
When it comes to the Indigenous history of Australian football, St Kilda and Collingwood are bound together by events of a couple of decades ago and the brave stance of Nicky Winmar, which became iconic one afternoon at Victoria Park. So as the AFL dedicates round 11 to celebrate the enrichment that the Indigenous players have brought the code, the Saints and the Magpies are drawn together as a symbol of where we were and how far we've come. On a Friday night under a closed roof at Docklands, it's St Kilda and Collingwood on Grandstand AFL. Gerard Whateley with you. Nathan Burke is in place with very much a recognition of the history of how all of this has unfolded. And Nathan, this is something that St Kilda have wanted for some time.
Absolutely, Gerard, and good evening, listeners. But yes, well, we've been petitioning the AFL for a recognition of probably the significance of what Nicky did all those years ago. As you mentioned at the start, these two sides are intrinsically linked in the whole reconciliation aspect of AFL football, which I think AFL football should be congratulated because we do it extremely well. So to finally get this game tonight and to be able to relive that important moment long ago is a great thing for the game and also for the everyone involved in the game.
And we look forward to sharing the night with you. Adam White, welcome.
Hello, Jed. I remember that game. It was a really good game of football. I was playing golf at Token Wall, walking down the fairways, listening to the game on my Walkman, and then I actually watched a fair portion of the match yesterday on YouTube. And you forget how that was just some very, very good, a very, very good team that St Kilda had at the time. And I think it was that Gilbert McAdam had a big day, and it was just it was a fantastic game of football out at Victoria Park.
It's funny that look, we didn't realise the significance of the moment until the next day. I think the photo in the paper really immortalised the moment. But most of the talk after the game was Danny Frawley was on the bench, and as he was jogging along the sidelines, somebody spur of the moment chucked a 4 and 20, hit him straight in the face with a pie, and that was sort of the majority of the talking point after the game. Danny getting hit in the face with a pie.
Punchline to any joke.
I was actually going to ask what Berkey was doing that day. He wasn't playing golf at Tocqueville. He was playing that day, and you did all right as well. You got a fair bit of footy and kicked a couple of goals.
Couple of goals, that's a rare occurrence. So
those ones live in the mind.
That's right, yeah. Any time I kick 2 goals, that's a very rare occurrence.
And Alan Richardson had a stake in the game, and he spoke about that today. He was playing for Collingwood. He played on Nicky Winmar, and here he is tonight as the coach of St Kilda. David Parkin, welcome.
Thanks, Stuart. I'm very pleased to be here too, and the significance of the night should not be lost.
We'll expand on that shortly. But Matt Finnis is with us, the St Kilda Chief Executive. Matt, welcome to Grandstand AFL.
Thanks for having me, Jared.
So what are you? I think someone said to me 37 days into the job.
That's right. Yeah, it's about 5 or 6 weeks, and clearly I know it all by now and got it all under control.
How has the experience been moving into a club?
Look, it's very different. I think the industry is the same, and that's about where the similarities end. But look, I've really enjoyed it. It's a wonderful thing to go into a club which is a foundation club of the AFL, and you really get a strong sense of the breadth of and passion of the people for the organisation. And clearly we've got some work ahead of us as we rebuild this club, but the opportunity for me now is we're actually building the club as we build the team, and the chance to do that with everyone in it together is really exciting.
What were your expectations heading towards the job? Did you know what you were in for?
Yeah, look, I did. I mean, it's something where I've had the privilege in working for the Players Association for a number of years to see all of the clubs up close, and from my point of view, I could see that the club had made some really strong decisions in recent times. You've got a new coach, you've got a new president, and you've got a really clearly articulated list strategy, which is, we saw some tough decisions being made towards the end of last year, which, weren't popular at the time, but now we've started to see, I guess, some of the fruits of those decisions coming through at the start of this year. So, it's going to be, a long journey, but it's something which I think the club's already started to make some important decisions towards that.
What did you want to do immediately, and what have you done in the first few weeks?
Oh, look, I've got a view that you listen, then you lead. So I've really enjoyed the opportunity to meet a lot of people, to speak to a lot of people, learn about what they think the club is doing well. You can often get conversations about what we're not doing well, but I think you've got to look and say, well, what are some of the strengths of the organisation that we can really build upon, and so I've really enjoyed getting to know that and getting to know the people down there, and really learning about a lot of the inside runnings of our footy club. I've spent the last 2 days in a mid-season review of the football department, and that's been fascinating to really get a sense of how all the different moving parts of the club are working together.
Just before I open it up, tonight it's the biggest fixture of the season from a St Kilda home game perspective. What does tonight mean to the Saints?
Yeah, look, it's terrific to be able to play on the Friday night and the big stage, and against Collingwood means you get a big crowd as well. So financially that's important for the club, but I think that this game is far much more important than the financial side of things. This is a wonderful chance for the club to be on the stage on a game which, as Berkey was mentioning before, is a really important part of our heritage. And the fact that Nicky stood up at that time, the moral courage, which I think that represented, is a very important moment in our club's history, and it's the first image that you see when you walk through the door at Linden House, and I think it's something which probably just shows what that means to our club, and to be able to come along tonight and recognise the role that Indigenous people have played in our game is terrific.
Matt Finnis is the Chief Executive of St Kilda. Nathan Burke is a board member of St Kilda, if you're not aware.
I want to ask how the process came about. I've sat next to you in committees galore, and we've talked about all the issues I think that football faces. I wasn't quite expecting you to go in that direction at that time. I'm just wondering how, if you can publicly give us a bit of how that process started.
Yeah, look, it's not something that I'd been really thinking a lot about, but when I was first approached, it was Andrew Thompson, actually, one of Nathan's co-directors, who I'd known from his days playing, that I'd started reflecting about where I'd been. I'd been 9 years in the Players Association. I was confident that we were going to be able to conclude a mid-term review of our CBA early this year, which would then give the organisation a couple of years before it was needing to go around through that process again. And I started to think about, would I be the guy that was there for the next negotiation for the Players Association? And I'd started to query that. And I don't think in that kind of role you can be half into it. It's got to be something which you're really passionate about and thinking about all the time. So, it was probably just a combination of the right time for me, but also then, and I started to think about it and actually could see that the potential for what St Kilda is trying to achieve. I think the club is really got a lot ahead of it. I think we've got the capacity to really grow our membership base, to really own the whole Bayside region from Port Melbourne all the way down through to Portsea, and it's where I've grown up, I guess. It's a big part of who I am, and I think that if you get the commercial model right and you can marry that up with the growth in our football list, I think we can achieve some great things.
So what I'm alluding to, it wasn't a really difficult sell from St Kilda's point of view. You understood I'm not going to say the degree of difficulty, but you understood exactly where you were going and what you were going to have to confront.
Yeah, look, I did, absolutely, and that's and there's no shirking away from, we've got some challenges in terms of our financial position, but I also look ahead and say, well, look, if we get this equalisation and competitive balance work right with the AFL, if we can, address some of the economics around our stadium issue in the next couple of years, if we can really grow our footprint in New Zealand, and we can actually then focus around the performance and the culture of our business, then I'm very optimistic about where St Kilda sits, and St Kilda is not a small club. St Kilda's a club which has got a great drawing base, and I think that we can really make everyone really proud about St Kilda again.
Because I can go back a bit to the Moorabbin days, and it wouldn't matter where St Kilda were in those days. You went down to Moorabbin and they filled it was probably 25,000 were crammed into that ground, and they were the most virulent supporters I think that we've ever had to play in front, and that was through good and not so good times. I thought there's a base here that you would have understood in going to the job that will grow, a bit like Port Adelaide's simmering away. All of a sudden they go from 17 or 18,000 to 50 plus thousand members. I reckon the potential's exactly the same for St Kilda.
I think you're right, Parker, but I also think our job is to make sure that we've actually got a promise and a commitment to the people who do support our club that even when we're not winning games, that we're actually, engaging with them, and that they actually feel that attachment and that belonging with our organisation, which means that we can maintain our strength on a sustainable basis, rather than just, every time it is that we can build our list to the top of the ladder.
In your last role, you were primarily looking after the interest of the players, and obviously the custodian of the game as well as the players are. Now you've sort of gone to the club side. Have you noticed any particular conflicts there? Of previously you were saying, okay, this is what the clubs needed to do for the players. Now you're on the other side. Is anything come up or become clearer in your mind?
Well, hopefully I've negotiated my last pay rise for a player. Yeah. But no, look, someone asked me would I come to regret any of the things which I pushed as a player's advocate, and maybe when Jack Billings and Luke Dunstan become free agents, I might start to question the importance of that. But look, I think my view around the Players Association was always about you look after the long-term interests of the game, because there will always be players that need to come through, and so it's no good making decisions which might suit a cohort of players right now but are going to undermine the game in a longer term. So having had that philosophy, I've actually, I think, found that transition into the club perhaps more straightforward than I would have otherwise. But I think that's, at the end of the day, our game is, we've all got to work together, the clubs, the AFL, the fans, the players, because we've got enough competition from everyone else, and that's probably been my approach.
Yeah, and that sense of everybody working together for the game, have you got a greater sense of that now that you're at the club level and probably getting support of the clubs as opposed to a standalone AFLPA?
Yeah, look, certainly, I guess one of the great things about the PA is you have that perspective that allows you to look above and to look more broader. And what I've found very quickly at the club is how quickly it sucks you in, to every part of the day and life of when people are living on that win and loss every single weekend. And I've got to say, I actually quite enjoy that, and I can see how it really grows on you. But I think at the same time, you've actually got to be able to also look above and make sure that we're focused as a whole on where our game's going.
We'll ask a couple of the specific football questions in a moment, but there was a piece of research released during the week which you played a role in, Matt. David Parkin has been a real driver of this. So let's spend a couple of minutes exploring this, David. What was released during the week?
Very pleased that we got the support of the Players Association and Matt himself on the research board, which is looking at the relationship between the way a club supports their players, not only in their football development but in their personal development beyond. And what we've, I guess, thought in Australian sport, not just in Australian football, that a player that's reasonably well balanced, that is, other than his footy, he's doing other things, study, work placement, apprenticeships, community programs, that sort of commitment, we thought that would have a positive effect on their playing performance. And what the research done by young Matthew Pink, he's a PhD student out of Catholic University in Brisbane, is that there is a strong relationship in the way the players are felt, why they feel that the club actually supports them in their work environment beyond their football, and we know that there is a positive actual playing performance improvement. So I guess it comes back, he's now leading the club, that what the thing is, providing an A-class or first-class working environment. That's what I think the original research that you were pushing. And this is a small, well, I think a large block in that thinking.
I think you're right. It was a dangerous question to ask in many respects because you never know what the research was going to show up, and had it gone the other way, I think we would have been up against it, because I think what the players were trying to show was if you can bring a performance orientation to this debate around how it is that we grow well balanced and developed players as people. Then that's going to get momentum that you need, because football clubs are such a performance orientation workplace, and I guess we're encouraged that it shows up that, and our challenge as those of us now in leadership roles within the game is how we do ensure that we follow that through into our practice, because my firm view is that better people make better players, and that's something which at the end of the day, when you've got to get into the week to week. How do you balance that in with making sure the guys are getting their massage, that they are attending the meeting about the preparation, they are recovering right? And how do you create the time and the space to also ensure the players are developing themselves off the field?
An interesting byproduct, Nathan Buckley was good enough to give his time and shoulder to the research, and he has a great understanding of it. And we were talking about the environment which you create, and he's been in the process, I think, of changing the culture at the Collingwood Football Club in a real sense. It's an outsider looking in, but I know he is. And he said in the past, the players have seen fit as soon as a moment came up that they could get out and away, they were off and out. And he said, we're changing and improving the culture or the environment which they work, they won't go now, he says. They're here all the time. He said they want to choose their football time and their non-football time living in the club. He said, so we've got a bit of a problem in that you need probably to go outside to do a lot of work placement and study and those sorts of things. So we're almost undoing ourselves in providing the time for them to go, but then wanting to stay, that's an interesting byproduct of something I hadn't thought about.
Absolutely.
Do you think, Matt, that it helps that you've got that role from the Players Association now going in to a CEO role? You know the players and how they tick a little bit better, and that can be of an assistance to St Kilda?
Oh, look, I'd like to think so. I guess I've got a lot to learn about all the other parts of the business, and I've been pretty intent not to try and impress upon my view on relation to a whole lot of matters around Players Association kind of business, even though I sat there in a review meeting just yesterday and the high performance coach was talking about the balance and how to get a hold of the players when they've got their CBA day off. Everyone looks at me and thanks very much for that, but I think it does in terms of just having a broader view, but to be honest, what I've also bring to the table I think is having seen which of the clubs are able to almost buck the trend, buck the system. The system is designed with a salary cap and a draft. You have your turn at the top and then you go back down again. And there's some clubs, which we all know, the Hawthorns, the Sydney, the Geelong, but these are clubs that have been able to buck that system. And I believe that there's some key characteristics which they share. And one of those is they're people-first businesses. And that's not just about the way in which they respect the players, but it's actually about the way in which they develop all of their people. And I think it's really important. And you see it from the clarity of their leadership from the top, and the way in which all of the business then becomes interdependent about pursuing that. And I've seen some clubs over the journey where the football department is only recognisable as being part of the same organisation as administration and commercial by the same colour tie they wear or the polo shirt. And I think that at St Kilda we've got an opportunity to build our club. As we build our list, we're building the commercial business as well, and we can do that all together, and I think that's what will allow us to be a truly great club again.
So the last one, the nitty-gritty of what you observed over a couple of days in the football department. Is there more good than bad in this season so far?
Yeah, look, I think there is, Jared. It's what I've also learned is that free departments can be pretty resilient and optimistic as well, and I've got to say the review that I've sat in on, there's plenty of ideas, and it's all about this constant improvement, and that's really really motivating to be part of that. There's no doubt. Look at the injuries that we've had this year, and that continues to challenge. You'd love to be blooding these young players with some senior bodies around them, but you take Fisher and Gwilt and Gilbert out of your back line, and I mean, I think look at the work that Delaney has done and Josh Bruce, and they've been terrific. So I think there is a lot of optimism about the fact that when we actually can put the nucleus of these young players coming through with some more experienced bodies, Jaron Geary and David Armitage and these guys, then I think that you'll see all the pieces of the pie starting to come together.
Good luck with the job. We look forward to touching base right throughout.
Thanks for having me.
Matt Finnis is the Chief Executive of St Kilda, with the Saints hosting tonight under the closed roof against Collingwood. It's round 11, the Indigenous round, and two teams who are steeped in the history of it, the Saints and the Magpies, drawn to face each other. Nathan, on the St Kilda front and what's been built, it started brightly, it has tapered a little. What's your read on the Saints front with the internal knowledge?
Yeah, look, I think we did start brightly. I think the draw was kind to us. We did play Melbourne and GWS and a couple of those teams early on, and that gave the guys a fair bit of confidence. But I'm really excited about the young players that we've been able to blood through the team, because that's the future. That's where we're going to be. I always knew at the start of the year that we'll have our good games where we're really, really competitive and we might pinch a few, but then we'll have the off ones like the Hawthorn game where we'll get blown out of the water. And that's just the inexperience of a lot of youth. Look, without wanting to make excuses, when you have 5 of your 6 best backmen out of the team, it becomes very, very difficult. For instance, I just did some quick maths then. Take away our most experienced defender, Sean Dempster, 169 games. The other 5 that are named there tonight adds up to 98 games. Take away Collingwood's most experienced defender, Maxwell, 206 games. The other 5 still add up to 299 games. So there's a real lack of experience in those key areas.
And we still think of Collingwood's defence as being relatively inexperienced.
Exactly right. And so... And to me, that's not this is going to be terrible. That's a real exciting thing to see how those guys stand up under a pressure of a really good forward line of Collingwood. So your attention as a St Kilda person changes from the win-loss to what are the little wins in the game. So how does Jack Newnes stand up, and how does Bruce and Delaney stand up against 2 key forwards for Collingwood? So that is where we're at the moment. And if you take that aspect into the games, I think at this halfway mark, I'm more pleased, even though we've only won the 3 games.
We had the chance to sit with Alan Richardson right at the start of the year in the immediate aftermath of his first win, and it was impossible not to be impressed with him. We know his reputation. We know that he's a very good fit for what you've just outlined. What would you say are the strengths that you've observed in him so far?
Look, Alan's strength is particularly with a young group, and we've got a young group and we've got an old group. There's not much in the middle. Alan's strength, to me, in the football department at least, has been able to excite and motivate the senior players, and really give them a sense of ownership over the younger players. They're not out there to pad out their careers and see if they can win some games and get paid a lot of money for the last 3-4 years. They are generally out there to make sure that their legacy is these younger players coming through in 2016-17 are vying for premierships, and genuinely that's what they believe is their legacy, and that's all Alan's doing. He has actually got that sense of ownership amongst the older players. So to me, that's really, really important. The other thing that Alan's done is, as Matt sort of alluded to there, he's united the football club as a whole, because to be honest, there were large divides between all the different departments, but he's managed to, as Alan said, it's not just the clothes that you wear that show you're a St Kilda person, it's the way you actually relate and help out each other department in the club, and that's the only way we're going to go forward as a club. So I think his whole picture as a club, as well as understanding a football department, has been very impressive.
We're in good hands tonight with Nathan Burke, a board member of St Kilda, and the Saints about to play the Magpies. The insights there from Matt Finnis as well, the Chief Executive, to get a bit of a picture on what St Kilda is attempting to build. The match is coming up next from Docklands.
Double J. The ABC's new music radio station is ready for your ears.
I can't
Weekdays, join Mick Warhurst, playing you the music you've loved and the music we reckon you're going to love.
Double J.
On your mobile via the ABC radio app, online at doublej.net.au, or look for Double J on your digital radio or TV.
Grandstand. ABC Grandstand. On radio, online, and on digital radio.
The Australian game has been deeply enriched by its Indigenous players.
Winmar's got a chance here. Takes it. Left foot, look at this. Wonderful.
Men who have become symbols not only of artistry and wonder, but of enlightenment and progression.
Huge honour, but the most important thing out of it all is that we get to represent our people and where we come from.
This weekend, the football world pauses to rejoice.
Indigenous round obviously means a lot for us Indigenous guys. Something that's really proud to be involved in.
Paying respects to the Indigenous players and the contribution they've made to the game.
From the pioneers of the past.
That's Polly Palmer's second for the match, and there he is. He's been a wonderful player all day.
To the stars of the day.
Up goes Rioli, marks, lands, plays on, scoots away, snaps the goal.
I grew up on the TV Islands and can remember just, bare feet, shirt off. I was just kicking the ball up. There's about, 20 kids chasing one footy, and those are, good memories.
From the Sherrins to the Guernseys, from the long walk to the dream time, to celebrate Indigenous round.
Grandstand AFL.
Matera sets sail for home, and the Eagles hit the front.
Down towards half-forward flank. Mitchell! Whoa! What a mark, Michael Mitchell!
Away goes Michael Long. 50 metres out. Still going. 30 metres out. Oh, what play! It may have been touched on the line. No! Hugging the boundary line. It's still a line ball. Out of mid-air. Wait, get in. The goal of the year.
Inside 50, O'Loughlin's he's home.
He
marked it.
Off to Jeddah. A standing start. Don't tell me Leroy Jeddah. It's a goal.
Good, roving superbly through the pack. Runs to full forward and slots his third.
Dodges one, dodges another. Oh, thanks for coming, Andy McLeod. You are a beauty.
And bounding onto it is Franklin. He's away. He's had two bounces. He runs to the goal. Oh, buddy, you are magnificent.
Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Local Radio and on ABC Grandstand Digital.
Grandstand Digital.
The Friday night of Indigenous round is set aside for St Kilda and Collingwood under the closed roof at Docklands on Grandstand AFL. The Saints and the Magpies coming up. Gerard Whateley and Adam White to call the game for you. The team news, Whitey, was big indeed.
It was, and not good news for Collingwood because Dane Swan is out, as is Brodie Grundy. So they're ruckman. And they're, one of their best midfielders. They've got plenty of them. But Dane Swan, that's a big shock. He doesn't usually miss games of football. So coming into the side is Josh Thomas and also Paul Seedsman. So Seedsman will be the sub for tonight for Collingwood. St Kilda as selected. So Simpkin, Saunders and Donnell will not play. And the sub for the Saints will be Clint Jones, which is a little bit of a surprise. Maybe he was going to play on Dane Swan, so they thought they'd give him a bit of a break this week. I'm not sure.
And Nathan Burke and David Parkin are our experts tonight. Just before we hook into this, last night, what happened last night? The magnitude was... It was epic. It was absolutely terrifying what the Sydney Swans did to Geelong with a 110-point margin.
And all I could think about was you. I thought there'd be one person who'd be watching this who will be disliking it intensely. Look, I have never seen where you have what we would consider to be two quality teams. We know both Sydney and Geelong are probably going to finish top four, we would have thought. For one team to get hold of it and basically hang onto it from almost the first bounce to the final side. We talk about momentum shifts, which will probably even get here for a while tonight with two unevenly matched sides, in my opinion. We'll start off by saying I need to be respectful tonight for Nathan Burke. I've actually written that down as one of my leading notes.
I'll keep pointing to it as it goes on.
It's not highlighted, but it has a circle around it. But I can't remember where two what I call very talented teams, one of them just couldn't get started. They didn't. The players that initiated, the captain and Stevie J and people like that, just have the ability to stop this and do something about it off their own bat and their mates come and follow them and they start to score. I wondered at one stage, seriously, whether they would score the second goal. It got to that point. So I didn't like it in terms of where the game is going because it underpins what Sydney had designed and now organised and now are implementing, which was... I wasn't terribly happy at the time, but I thought this comes back to bite them on the backside, that they go and pay $10 million for a player. Even within 3 games, they've been able to structure a front half, Jared, that actually worked, because now Franklin is playing with the athleticism. We know that he's a fantastic athleticism. He was opening it up and letting the big fella go back, and I know he was undermanned in terms of the defence which Geelong would provide, but he clunked the ball so convincingly, and should have probably kicked 7 or 8 goals the way he played, that, and the combination of Reid running round as a, I think who's going to be able to stack up a back half if they're coming in
75 times.
Oh, I thought 57.
75
I got
times
the figures
inside
back
50.
to front. 75 times. And I saw Tim in an interview today and I laughed at him. He said, oh, it's pretty easy to play when the ball comes in 75 times. He said. He actually said that. And he wasn't being a smarty, he was just making the comment. It would have sent shudders through every other team that thought they might be some chance of finishing top 4 and winning.
Well, Parko, one of the amazing stats, I think, is that Franklin and Tippett have only played together 3 times. They've had 37 scoring shots in those 3 games for 23 goals. And the combined winning margin from the 3 matches where they've both played is 199 points, including games against Essendon and Geelong that, all things being equal, Essendon would have finished about 5th or 6th last year, and obviously Geelong right up near the top. So it's not as though they're getting the easy kills. They're destroying reasonably good football sides.
And can I just add just one thing? The 4 best players were the second tier midfield.
That's
Bird
right.
The 4
and the half-back flankers.
I still coming to grips with it. I had a 2-hour sleep in 2 days, and I sat in front of it, and I didn't go to sleep. I was absolutely mesmerised by what Sydney were doing.
As an ex-player, I was absolutely rapt with what happened to Geelong. Not because I don't like Geelong. Geelong players, from Joel Selwood and everyone who started underneath him, but after him, they've been living in a false economy of AFL football. Coming in, playing in grand finals, vying for grand finals, winning more games than you lose every single year. Now they know what the 98% of other footballers go through. In a game where you try as you might, you can't do anything about it. The scoreboard keeps going the other way. At the end of the game, that's the first time they would have felt like that, like, what the bejesus just happened then? And the next day, they'd be thinking exactly the same. What the coach said to them, they would have never heard before. So that false economy finally has gone. Now they know what being an AFL footballer is all about, and I think they'll probably be better players for it.
Yeah, you were there last night, Jared, and when you were saying that, Berkey, I remember thinking a few times watching Joel Selwood, and he had just this look on his face of, this doesn't happen to me. And it didn't mean he didn't try any harder, it just, this doesn't happen to me.
Yep. I had lunch with Jimmy Bartell before he was going up, and I walked out saying, I'm putting my money on Geelong. He convinced me that they had a good control over Sydney.
I left last night thinking Sydney might just run amok through the rest of the season on what they're doing. I'm not sure that anyone's got anything even remotely close to what they put out there last night.
No, because you look for a weakness in their forwards. We've spoken about that. It's very potent. Their midfield, they're extremely strong in their depth, but their defence as well. Richards and Grundy are, in my mind, the best pairing tall defenders in the league. So they've probably got the best pairing tall defenders in the league to go with everything else that they've got. And then on either side of them, you've got Malchaski and Rampy and Smith and Shaw and these guys. That's a potent backline as well. So to actually find a weakness, I can't.
Well, their number one ruckman still has to come back in Mike Pike.
Yep. And Tom Mitchell.
Tom Mitchell had 64 possessions in the EFL and couldn't get into the team.
Yeah. The other thing that comes out of that game is the AFL fixturing. If they're going to have 3 weeks worth of buys, they can't schedule it so that one team has a 13-day break and one team has a 6-day break and travels in that 6-day break. Not that it actually was the main reason for the result we saw last night, but we can't have teams having short breaks and travelling coming up against teams who've come off a bye. Just can't happen.
Okay, that's last night. It will be a topic right throughout the weekend on the Saturday agenda tomorrow as well. But the task before us, the Magpies are first out. The Saints about to take to the arena for Friday night footy, the Saints and the Pies. Nathan Burke and David Parkin, take us through some of your thoughts.
Am I allowed to be very honest here?
You can be honest, David? Yes.
Well, 6 to playing 16th, and that's 10 places different. I did work really hard to look at it's a contested ball. Listen, if you're well down the list, it's 6th for the Magpies and 14th for St Kilda. The disposal efficiency, you'll be delighted to know, you're actually better than Collingwood. Collingwood are the worst team in disposal because they rank number 18. You're 14, so you're 4 places up on them, so you might use the ball better. Tackles, you'd think, well, if you're running second a bit, as I think St Kilda have been done, you'll be up high, but in fact Collingwood are second in their defensive work and St Kilda are 11th. And marks inside 50, which I think, and a lot of other people would argue this, are absolutely critical. Collingwood have even struggled through the big fella. It's just not been, Clokey's not been taking the ball, but they are 5th in terms of marking the ball inside the 50, which is a clear shot on goal. And despite Rewald's brilliant work, St Kilda running at 12th. I was just trying to look at some functional things which might give me some hope. The quality of the players that Collingwood bring, and Collingwood are on the rise, there's no doubt about it. To me, they are structuring a club and developing the players without great expectation, nice and consistently. In the couple of years ahead, I think they'll be a competing premiership team. That would be my view. And I think, to be truthful, St Kilda are just forming their base now with, I think, some of the most exciting kids in the competition who just needed the 6th or 7th you mentioned before. Fisher, Hickey, Gilbert, Templeton, Wright, the whole Gwilt particularly. Some of the more experienced players that, in fact, why Hawthorn, Geelong and Sydney have been able to develop their kids surrounded by mature, talented footballers. And don't tell me, and I'm rapt that Richo's at St Kilda. I think Richardson would claim to be, no, he wouldn't claim to be, he's not that sort of bloke. We would claim, those who've worked with him, that he's probably the best development coach the game has ever produced. And so to have him in that role at this time, with the character that he brings, you couldn't have, I know you were part of that, Nathan, you couldn't have a better person in the helm at the moment looking after the development.
That's good, David, and I'll give you that. I will counter your numbers with the old quote of there's lies, damn lies and statistics. So they mean nothing when you actually get out there on the field. It's all what happens above the shoulders. And the element that I'm looking forward to from St Kilda is, we all know their starts have been atrocious. They've only won one first quarter so far this year. So they've spent the last 2 weeks figuring out what we need to do to be in the game at quarter time and not to be chasing the other team down in the last 3 quarters. So I'm looking to see what they bring above the shoulders into that first attack and that first contest all over the ground, and how they structure up. Are they going to have a man-on-man type of defence to make it that tight, or are they going to play a zone type of defence? But to me, that's one of the things I'm going to look forward to today, is how the Saints start the game.
Well, you've got some inside information, but if you're saying the start, they would have talked it because you're on the end of the inside talk. I know that. So are they going to do it? Are they going to do it by reducing them, like I would say to Carlton players often, let's have a nil or draw at quarter time. I don't care if we don't score as long as they don't, because if we get them a head start, we'll chase them. They're not as good as us, but we can't let them think that they are by stopping them early. Now, do you reckon St Kilda are going to slow the scoring for Collingwood, or have a real crack and open up on the scoreboard?
Well, this is a guess, because I'm not that much on the inner sanctum. I can give you the tip there. But no, I think if they go in front, even at quarter time, they'll be happy. If they go in front at quarter time, then they'll be ecstatic. I think then they'll know we finish off the games really well. We can really launch from here. So I think they need that launching pad at quarter time.
And I think, Parko, a key to this for me tonight is with Collingwood's percentage. It's only 107. Now, if they are to finish in the top 4, as you said, they might be able to. If you look at other teams' percentage around Collingwood, Sydney's, well, it was 124 until last night, so it's pushed up into the 130s. Port Adelaide's is 145 and Hawthorn's is 152. So what we're going to see more and more now is that the teams that have got the games against a weaker opposition, they can't afford to take the foot off the pedal. They really need to take the opportunities to try and improve their percentage.
You're underlining a powerful incentive for Collingwood to absolutely into it to start and kick as big a score and reduce St Kilda to naught.
Well, it's a situation, Paco, where there are 6 teams that can finish in the top 4. So the odds are that percentage might be the difference between making top 4 or not. And Collingwood's, and you look at that, it's almost a game behind some of the other teams unless they find a way to start winning by some big margins. So from a St Kilda point of view, I'm sure, Berkey, they'd be aware of that, and they'd be wanting to make sure that they are in the game early, because if Collingwood gets off to a fly, I don't think they'll be taking their foot off.
No, they won't, but it's interesting that they leave a guy like Swan out, and we're assuming there's an injury. There is room to say that potentially they think they might have this one won, so mid-year, let's give him an extra rest.
We think they'll be that rested for both of them.
We know they do rest
He's
players.
Talking like a coach here, just trying to give the incentive
we
to
know
the
they
players.
do rest players, but Collingwood, for me, they're in that dangerous position where they've been winning, but they haven't really been setting the world on fire. And to me, that doesn't mean that necessarily you will start setting the world on fire, because there's a bit of a knife edge there. You're winning, that's great, you're getting the 4 points, but poor form is poor form. It's not playing to your best, and you can either go one or two ways. You can go forward and pick up that form and keep winning games, or you can drop off and then start losing games. So Collingwood, to me, are on that knife edge at the moment, and tonight might be something that they can say, right, tonight's the night we're really going to hit our gear and get into form. But again, if the Saints take it up to them at half-time, three-quarter time, they might be thinking, well, goodness me, is this something that we're going the other way rather than the form way? So what happens above the shoulders tonight, I think, will go a long way to making up the gap between the obvious skill deficits between the two teams.
Jared, tonight, well, obviously we're at the footy at Docklands watching Collingwood and St Kilda, but Sam Stosur is in action at Roland Garros as we speak in a third-round match against Dominik Sibylkova. Now, Stosur has a 4-0 record over Sibylkova, and she started well. She's up a break and she leads 4-2. So we'll have score updates on that match throughout the next, hopefully, only the next half hour or so.
Very good. You talked, Nath, a bit about some of the talent, which you've been pretty close to it. You named a couple. Where is your major hope? What are the people who've already indicated to you that they're going to be substantial performers for this club for the next decade? Just give us a few names that I should be looking for tonight.
There's the obvious high draft picks, like a Billings. I think he's, at the moment, a peripheral player because he just hasn't quite got the body to get in and under. But to me, he'll make the transition into the centre line. But the other ones that I'm really, really excited about is Jack Nunes. He's only played the 34 games. At the moment, he's settled himself down on a half-baked flank. And to me, playing your early games as a defender gives a really good grounding as a player. So I'd expect Jack Nunes to be almost Lenny Hayes' replacement. That's where I see him moving. And a guy like Murdoch as well. He's only playing his 8th game tonight. Again, he's not going to be a defender for the rest of his life. He's going to move up into that midfield as well. So they're the guys that I'm really excited about.
Tall ones? Stanley yet? Has he reached the stage of convincing you?
On occasion, not overly.
Not often, no.
He's got the ability there. Sipos is another one. He's got all the talent under the sun. For me, will Sipos become the 6'2", 6'3" midfielder that can take the game by the scruff of the neck? He's got all the skills in the world, or will he be that third, fourth, tall forward? I think he should be aiming to be that tall midfielder, even like a Kennedy type of player. There's probably not much difference in their size, but he's made himself an in and under midfielder. Can he do that? We all hope so. I'm not too sure.
Young Longer showed a bit of potential before he came from the north. Yet to convince me either physically or technically that he's got it. But chance, you think?
Yeah. See, Billy Longer, he's our number one ruckman at the moment. He's playing his 14th game. Yeah. So you got to realise. And Bruce, he's only playing his 18th game. So these guys are our ruckman, our fullback, and our centre half back. Really vital aspects to the team, and Stanley as well. they're all played under 20 games. It's really exciting to watch these guys, and what I'm looking for is, as I said at the start, glimpses of what they're going to do. But probably the one that is really, really exciting at the moment, and probably exciting down at the club, is Luke Dunstan. He's got the body of an inside midfielder, and he'll only grow into that. So I see Luke Dunstan as a captain of this club, playing 300 games, going to be an out-and-out champion. So, again, he's probably the most exciting one of the bunch for me.
So the insights of Nathan Burke tonight from a St Kilda perspective, as we look forward to the Saints and the Magpies. Now, Lindsay Gilbey actually is the bench coach for the Saints tonight, so he's out of our grasp. Our boundary rider is Martin Blake. Marty, welcome.
Happy to fill in there, Jared. Good to see you. 18 degrees down here, surface perfect. The subs are Clint Jones and Paul Siegeman. That's 4 players out of the side from last week for Collingwood. Grundy had a little fitness test today, I'm told, and has a sore back. And Dane Swan has a heel injury.
Okay. Friday night footy on Grandstand AFL in this round 11, the Indigenous rounds under the closed roof. It's St Kilda and Collingwood, and you're with Adam White.
So with Brodie Grundy out of the side, Jared Witts gets the chance to be the first ruck for Collingwood tonight, and he's up against Longer, and neither really won it down. They crashed into each other, going in off the square and causing a few problems there with Steele side bottom. He's made contact high with Maverick Weller, who's groggy. He's handballed it away, and he's in real trouble, Maverick Weller. Stephen has it in the middle, and he's been tackled, and it's holding the football, but the trainers are trying to get out to a very wobbly Maverick Weller. As side bottom, I think it was, who came off the square.
Got him with the point of the elbow.
Yeah, he's in trouble.
Not stretched out and tucked in, but got him right in the mush.
So while all that goes on, it looks like there could be a blood rule situation. The umpire's looking. Nope. It's all been waved away. So it means that Travis Cloak can take his kick from inside the centre circles, not the goal square. He goes long, coming in from the side with Fasolo. Couldn't take the mark. Comes out towards Montagna. Handball, not good. Goldsack takes it. Handballs to side bottom. Got tackled. Handballs it and coughs it straight up. Hayes got a handball out there. Now it's St Kilda building. Lots of handballs in there, although the one that missed the target was Murdoch. Now it's with Stephen. Still handballing, and it's Montagna that eventually kicks it, but not well.
No, it's intercepted by McCaffer, who didn't have to break stride to get hold of it off to Beams and Pendlebury, and he places it inside the 50 for side bottom. And the opening minute and a half has revolved around side bottom. He lays off the short pass a little further afield and closer to goal, and it's Fasolo who's taken the mark.
It looked pretty well. Fasolo was the one that went right over the top, almost a body length over everybody else to not catch it when it first came in, but he's got plenty of power. McCaffer has gone to Stephen. I think I probably expected that before the game.
He loves a goal, Alex Fasolo. He's had to settle himself with learning things at half-back. But the chance for the first, from 35 out, the right foot drop punts. He was never going to miss out on such an opportunity. Alex Fasolo with the first of the nights. It's come after 2 minutes.
Well, I think the fact is that he's, I think the ex-captain, after his demonstrative, input, feedback, has got rid of him. He's down the front half. So he's got rid of him out of the back half. He said, I'm not putting up with you any longer. Get out and play with those layers that want to jump over everybody.
Travis Cloak will be really happy with his first touch. He actually ran in and chased down Jack Stephen, which is no mean task. Ran 30 metres, tackled him, and his first kick just was a big long bomb up forward. It wasn't a set shot at goal, which can play with his mind. So perfect start for him.
Blakey, you're down there. Mav Weller's come to the bench, and the doctors are around him. What's the go, do you think?
Look, he was very wobbly when he first got hit, Whitey, but he's okay again now, and he did go to Steele side bottom as he went off just to let him know that he wasn't happy with it.
Okay, Collingwood with a clearance here. Side bottom getting the handball to Williams, who got tackled by Malera. Well done, holding the football. Free kick to the Saints in the middle of the ground, and that will be 50. An absolute brain explosion there. Has just seen the ball thrown away by Josh Thomas. Well, which means that's 50 metres.
Well, he was about to throw it, and the St Kilda opposition was trying to help him get the ball back, and in the process it fell out. I thought it's a bit rough.
Well, Malera, who tossed the coin tonight for the Saints in Indigenous round, has a chance to kick St Kilda's first goal of the night. 40 out, straight in front. It's got a hook about it, and it's missed to the left. Only a behind. Collingwood a goal, St Kilda are behind after nearly 4 minutes.
The kick-in was a quick one. It did come off to Keefe, and he was tackled in the immediate aftermath. And it's going to cost Lenny Hayes a 50-metre penalty. It's almost simultaneous, but the almost has told against Lenny. So Keefe, who gets a reprieve this week after being dropped the previous, works it off to Witts, who kicks around the boundary, missed his target, and just for a moment it was Sipos who had it, but he's lost it. And Lumumba comes bursting through for Collingwood, has a bounce, kicks up to full forward. Delaney sits himself well and marks in defence for St Kilda.
So Delaney goes back almost to the defensive goal square to Dunstan, who goes very wide to Ray, who marks at left half back. Close to the boundary. He wants to go lateral, but there weren't really too many options. In the end, he does go short. Not 15. Dunstan in trouble. Side bottom with a tackle. Dunstan just handballs it away. Ray goes back to support. Scoops up the ball. Handballs back to Dunstan, who fumbles it. He's tackled to the ground. It comes out. No free kick. Collingwood still with the football. Lockie got the handball out to side bottom to Goldsack. Now Pendlebury evades one, evades two. Kick was smothered as it goes towards goal. And coming out with the football, doing very well, is Shenton for the Saints. His kick, though, is over the top of Hayes, and it goes out of play for a throw-in at left half-back.
Martin Blake.
Maverick Weller went up to the rooms, boys, to be assessed, but they haven't made any move with Clint Jones, who's the sub. They could use him for 20 minutes if they like.
Pendlebury coming through the stoppage at half forward, works it off to Beams. He tries to open up play. Jesse White's caught with a footy. He's given a long time to get rid of it. And ghosting through as Tuvey gets it onto the boot, wobbles it to full forward. Cloak can't hang on. 2 against 1. He gets it to the boot and he snaps it behind. It's missed by that much, which has been a little bit of Travis Cloak all season. It's 1-1 to a behind.
Sorry, Jerry, but he's pretty clever. That actually had a St Kilda bloke on either side. He pushed a hole between the two to feed the ball out. Went extremely close.
Murdoch has the kicking in duties for the Saints. He goes short to Montagna in the right back pocket. Played 6 minutes. The Magpies a goal in front. Montagna goes as long as he can. Out towards Longer, but off hands it goes out of play for a throw-in. Only 65 metres or so around from Collingwood's goal.
That one miss, in the context of the game and what you wanted was a dreadful miss, wasn't it? Should have put it through.
Thrown in, Witts and Longer in the ruck. Longer wins it from at front position, but handball goes straight to Adams. He handballs straight to Nunes. St Kilda with the football. Dunstan under pressure. Handball was only fair. It's now locked up 50 metres out from the goal. Collingwood working well to keep it inside their attacking half, and it will be thrown up.
Good test for young Jack Frost tonight, playing on Riewoldt. He's only 11 games. He wouldn't have played anybody like Nick in his 11 games, so he'll certainly know what it means to run.
Witts clearly wins the tap down to Elliott, kicks up the full forward at Landon Short, and Delaney again is able to pick it off. He works the hand pass away to Dempster, who goes running through half back. He's kicked it up for Stanley. Now Riewoldt's got the one-on-one deep, and Stanley just sagged the kick beautifully for Riewold at the double back. And he takes the mark 40 out directly in front.
Jared, we called that perfectly. We wasn't sure whether to go Riewold or not. He was waiting, etc. And he actually kicked it to, said, mate, just get here. I'll put it right down the line at the perfect height. Riewold accelerated after he kicked the ball and was able to run on it. That was a terrific effort by the young bloke. He thought that through and delivered against it. Must kick this one.
So Nick Riewold can give this the full treatment, and the goal umpire never moved. Perfect set shot kicking from the Saints skipper. He ties it up at 1-1 apiece after 8 minutes.
The impressive part for me was Reece Stanley. Obviously the kick was very, very well thought out, but the fact that he started on one side of the centre square, when the ball was switched out of defence, he marked it 10 metres in the clear on the other side of the centre square, and that's what he has to do, which allows Nick to stay inside 50. So going from one side...
that's a work rate thing. I didn't see what you were talking about.
Yeah, it's a work rate thing. So starting on one side, he's got the athletic ability to burn off any player. He's the fastest player at the club when he's up and running. So running from one side to the other in a smart fashion is what he needs to do.
Back in the middle. Witts and Longer jumps early, decisively wins that down. Hayes crashes in, but it falls to Lumumba of Collingwood. Handballs to Pendlebury, who was immediately tackled, but he was tackled high. So Pendlebury, the Collingwood skipper, will take the free kick inside the centre square. He spreads it wide, and Keefe has it between wing and half back. Goes towards Maxwell, who marks just forward of the wing, close to the boundary. He'll go inboard with the short pass, and it's marked by Beams. Beams plays on, then kicks it long. Really, the only option was for Solo, and he couldn't get in the frame. And the mark was easily taken there by Shenton. The kick was a little average, but Nunes was able to take it close to the boundary. He plays on. He kicks down towards Stanley, who can't take the mark. It's out of play. Martin Blake.
Clint Jones into the game, boys. Just a concussion assessment for Maverick Weller. So they've got about 15 minutes from now to work out whether to make the sub or not.
That's going to all go badly for Steel side bottom. Up at half forward for the Pies, but the Saints win the footy. Hand pass from Ross out near Nunes against the boundary. He tried to keep it in, but didn't succeed in his endeavours. Notwithstanding that the match review panel and I haven't necessarily seen things eye to eye over the past couple of weeks. The jumping elbow into the face coming off the square. I don't see how they could. I don't see how we could misinterpret that as a collective. Collingwood trying to winkle this away from the stoppage. Young with a high ball up inside the 50. Cloak was in the pack. He didn't get near it though. Shenton at the drop for the Saints. Hand pass to Ross, who dropped it, and it goes out over the boundary in the left forward pocket.
The combination, Nathan, of both Delaney and Shenton, that's really working at the moment. Really working. Two really into it.
Thrown in. One down by White of the Magpies to Adams, who was dispossessed by Schneider in the tackle. And now it's Seb Ross applying a big tackle, and the umpire looks for a long time before eventually coming in and calling for it. 40 out from Collingwood's goal. Waited a long time then. I felt sure he was going to call holding the footy. Umpire Chris Donlan. Anyway, he throws it up. And now it comes down. Seb Ross is tackled again. Stephen in there for the Saints. He was beaten to it by Josh Thomas, who kicks back to full forward. Again, Cloak was behind. Delaney did okay, at least initially. Now it comes out Collingwood's way. Fasolo's there. He's tackled. And the umpire again waits a long time before calling for it. Still just 35 metres out from Collingwood's goal inside 50.
Plenty of prior opportunity there.
He took him on. Lucky to get away with that. It's at full forward for the Pies and has been for a little while. Stoppage with plenty around it. It's gathered off the turf by Longer. He feeds it out to the side, and the kick came out of half-back for Stevens. Might pan out all right for Stanley, whose hand pass didn't quite find the target. Dunstan committed himself over the footy. He got taken high and he gets the free kick. He's up to use it quickly. Dunstan kicks up to centre half forward. Lumumba's in front though for the Pies. He gets tackled by Stanley, who's right in the game early. Williams has a go for Collingwood, gives it off to Tuvey. Kick out of half-back now for Young. He can work the outer wing. He pulls the kick in the direction of Josh Thomas, but he telegraphed it, and Dempster saw it coming and intercepts.
And he goes over the top to Curran by hand, who chips it into midfield. Dunstan got a bad bounce. It lets him Blair for Collingwood. Another turnover. He kicks to Cloak, who marks just inside the centre square. He looks up. It's an open forward line. The kick is not great, although through the hands of Bruce of St Kilda, but he's got plenty of teammates in support. And now comes out to Shenton. He kicks towards the wing. Side bottom coming off from the bench. Was able to take the mark though for Collingwood, and quickly handballs to White. He also goes long and deep, but again it's tailor-made for the St Kilda defence, and Dempster takes the relieving mark for the Saints.
Ross is his target out across the face of goal. He's got Curran and Stephen working with him. He gives it to Stephen, who kicks down the line for Hayes. This is on the outer wing. Revolt's the next target, 35 metres further afield. Stanley's gone deep, and so too is Billings. Revolt waits on the kick, and he goes for Stanley, but chipping in front of him is Sidebottom, and he wears one around the ear. He was probably owed that.
So Collingwood goes forward again. Beams towards Cloak. He edges out Ross. It gets to the back. Cloak's first there. Runs onto it. 40 out in the pocket. He misses to the left. And another behind. So Collingwood in front. 1-2-8 to St Kilda 1-1-7. But Collingwood has had 12 inside 50 to St Kilda's 2.
And Collingwood have been very poor at clearances so far this year. I think they're third last, but at the moment winning those 7-1. So maybe that's something that they've worked on over the break.
2 behinds for Cloak. Dempster got himself into a spot of bother in the defensive goal square, but he's able to see that off and kick it for Stephen. He works it down the line as they hug the boundary, and Dunstan has it. He's committed to play on. Brings it back near goal for Hayes.
I've been pleased with St Kilda's movement, actually. The blokes are getting on their bike and trying to provide alternatives.
He needed a target on the way out. He set it in the Billings direction. The spoil was made on him. Frost attacks the footy hard for the Pies, and he wins it well. Feeds it out the back to Langdon. Onto the right boot. Inside the 50. Elliott with a run. He rises. He didn't get high enough, which is unusual for him. Dunstan in the pocket. And now there's a free kick being paid by the umpire in the non-controlling area against Elliott. The umpire standing side onto that thought Elliott's endeavours were perfectly legitimate, but not to be. Josh Bruce takes the free kick and uses it to Dempster.
He goes short across to Montagna at right half back. Montagna plays on. Nice kick to Malera, who will mark on the City wing close to the boundary. Handballs back to Montagna, who kept running. Short chipping ball towards Revolt, who grabbed it well on the half volley. Handballs to Ray. Rushes a kick inside the 50. Oh, there's a chance here for St Kilda. Sipos got out a handball, but it doesn't reach the target he was after. And Collingwood now clear with Langdon. Getting the handball out. Josh Thomas takes a bounce. Then chips to the wing. Not a great kick to Blair. And St Kilda will come with it again. Ray getting a handball to Curran.
He feeds it out the back to Jones, the sub who's into the play early and works it up to halfway, where the mark was taken by Murdoch. His kick is a beauty, right up to the 50. Sipos on the lead marks. He kicks for full forward because Malera is all on his own in the opposite forward pocket. And the kick had such power about it that Malera was able to stand there and mark barely 15 metres from goal.
Where did he come from? Where did he come from? About 8 of the Collingwood blokes looked at each other and said, where did he come from?
I'll get Blakey to check, but I think it was Nick Maxwell going down the race, which may have just upset the balance down there shortly.
Terry Malera, there is an angle here, but he's close to goal. To give St Kilda the lead, he nurses it home. And the Saints have rectified their starts. They've got the better of it after 16 minutes on the scoreboard. 2-1-13 to 1-2-8. Marty.
Yeah, Nick Maxwell straight down to the rooms with an apparent back injury.
Well, and because I looked up and I could see him coming, and he's come from 50 or 60 metres away with nobody taking any interest, certainly nobody on him, as such, even within a distance. And the kick and the finish was a ripper because he was sided and had to clear the corridor plus, and it landed perfectly in the space provided. It was a great kick.
Absolutely no doubt about Sipos's ability to distribute the footy. We just need him to get it more often. If he can get it more often, he'll become a far more valuable player.
Stanley this time into the ruck for St Kilda and wins it well to Stephen. Another clearance to the Saints. A rush kick though inside the 50. Tailor-made for Langdon to collect the ball. Handball to Young. Under pressure. Got the handball out on the bounce to Beams. Beams kicks to the wing. Wants Goldsack. Delaney though did well. Didn't quite complete the mark, but he's got support with Hayes at ground level. Got the handball to Nunes. He kicks very wide and St Kilda still has the footy with Curran. Curran at right half back. He's confronted by Fasolo. He has to kick quickly. He wants Dunstan, who at least created a contest, but at the drop it's McCaffer who kicks to Elliott, who marks 60 metres out from goal, distributes the handball. The kick is poor inside the 50 though by Thomas towards Goldsack. He's having a fight for it at ground level against two Saints. He's overwhelmed. He loses it. Dempster has it for the Saints.
It's a dinking kick and it needed Ross to have a little bit more aggression than he did. He's beaten to it by Beams. Puts the Pies back inside the 50 and Elliott is there. He's not paid the mark despite having a good grip of it the first time. The kick on the way out is not the best effort of Nunes and it's out of bounds on the full. Williams at the restart brings it in for Sidebottom, but they're back at the wing now, the Pies. Down the line with a kick for Thomas. Thomas, he likes the look of Beams up at half forward. He went with the one hand, couldn't pull it in, and Murdoch is there to gather for St Kilda. They just need a bit of shore possession on the way out. They'll get it this time as Ross takes the mark.
So Ross just trying to slow things down. Blakey?
Nick Maxwell's got the red vest on, boys, limping badly as he came up from the room, so Paul Seedsman is going to come in.
Okay, Montagna now has it. Handballs to Stephen. Stephen wide towards Revolt. Oh, strong mark in front of Frost.
just outside the 50 revolt. He kicks to the top of the square. He wants longer. He stretches. He can't mark. Ray with the crumb. Ray with the goal. St Kilda's got 3 in a row. And they're out by 11 points, the Saints. 3-1-19. Collingwood 1-2-8 after 19 minutes. And Nick Maxwell, playing some of the best footy for his career, is out of the match.
That is a big loss in the sense of where the game is too. The one characteristic that actually St Kilda have used the ball with their feet significantly better to this point than the opposition have. And I know they're not good. They're ranked the worst team in the Commonwealth. They've already shown that 3 times. Blokes clear and only had to deliver half reasonable kicks. Absolutely mucked it up. So that is a weakness and an Achilles heel in the Collingwood game. And with pressure on, and they are giving it, St Kilda might just get them to turn it over and give them possession they maybe don't deserve.
So Swan and Grundy lost when the team sheets came in, and Maxwell out in the first quarter and behind in the early stages. Collingwood did it the hard way last week. They're going to have to do that again this week. Adams uses Seedsman and side bottom from the centre break, and he kicks for Jesse White on the lead. And he can have the shot at goal. The inside 50, 16-6 Collingwood's way. But St Kilda 3-1 to 1-2 as we hit time on of this opening term. Jesse White kicked 11-6 in his first season as a Magpie, coming here tonight from 50 out. He launches it. It's a mighty kick. A beauty through for a goal. Just a little steadier for the Magpies early. 2-2-14. They trail St Kilda 3-1-19.
He's always had that capacity. I mean, in Sydney days, a long kick, he was probably more accurate round goals with a long driving kick than he was one within 30 or 40 in the corridor. And he's actually helped that balance a bit. Terrific at the other end. I reckon Riewoldt, to see Riewoldt 50% of the back time coming from the square and 50% of time charging up with his nose, and Stanley with, as you said, the running capacity to be able to share that load with him. I think they're far better structured that way instead of running Riewoldt into the ground.
So a right calf for Nick Maxwell in the middle. Longer wins the tap, then scoops it out. McCaffrey stole it. Kick was straight into bodies, and it comes out to Pendlebury for Collingwood. Handballs to Lumumba. Now across to Young. A driving kick on the left, going as long as he can. White couldn't quite get a hand to it, and off the pack it goes out of play for a throw-in. Blakey.
2 subs in the first quarter, boys. Maverick Weller's got the red vest on. He came back up from the rooms, but he's no good, so he's out. So Clint Jones will play out the game.
No good for Weller, no good for side bottom. Witts wins the tap, but it falls St Kilda's way. But the poor clearing kick, and it's been marked by Williams of Collingwood. The kick coming out of the congestion by Montagna. And now Williams will kick to full forward. Cloak's there. Delaney with the spoil. Thomas off the pack. He's got it. Yes! 2 in a row to Collingwood. And the Magpies back in front. 3-2-20. St Kilda 3-1-19. It almost... accidentally came out to Thomas, and he thought, I could pick this up and kick a goal here, and he did just that.
A little bit of lack of poise coming out of the back half for the Saints. It was a quick kick, and Collingwood, smart. Thomas set up a wall just outside 50 metres, and if your forwards put good pressure on, you're always in the play 60 metres out from goal. It's just a quick kick forward. Thomas marked it. Very good defence against Cloak, but again, it was smart play by the forwards in front. That's where the majority of the spoils go. So get yourself where football's a game of numbers. Get yourself where the percentages are, and you'll end up with a goal.
Collingwood by a point. Bounced back in the middle. Witts wins the tap. Working hard for it was Adams. He's been dispossessed. There's a bit of holding on going the way of Longer. So the Saints with the clearance. Hand pass to Ross. Kick up to Jones. He feeds the hand pass on to Hayes, who lays it in the revolt direction. It's high up. Not marked. Knocked back the way of Hayes. Couldn't quite gather against the boundary. They're scrapping for it. Sure that, it will come out. Tubi's able to pull it clear for the Pies. He kicks it out to half-back where Jesse White is waiting, and they're queuing up. Pendlebury gets it. He goes gliding through the middle. Had a bounce. Laid it off to Beams. Sweeping hand pass off to White. He's just got room to get the hand pass away near the teeth of goal for Blair, who wrong foots himself, drags it back on the right and snaps it through for a goal. 4-2 to 3-1. Collingwood have settled into a rhythm late in the opening term.
A bit sad really because they took it in on Lenny Hayes' efforts. Terrific get. Kicked and it just sat up a little bit for Nick Riewoldt. It was punched away from him. The first bloke in at the crumb was Lenny. He ran over the top of it. I can't believe it. I've never seen him do that before. And on the rebound out of that, on the back of Tuvey, I think, who came away into White. White hand passed over the top with a bit of good manoeuvring. The little bloke actually put it away under Blair. That's Blair Jared Bear under real frontal pressure. Great goal.
So 3 in a row to St Kilda and then 3 in a row to Collingwood. But those 3 goals coming in just 4 minutes. Longer winning the tap again in the middle for St Kilda. Witts picks up the ball. He's tackled to the ground by Hayes. The ball spills out back to Longer. Gets a handball out to Curran, who's under pressure. He's tackled by McCaffer. And the umpire again waits a long time before calling for it inside the centre square. Very congested midfield at the moment. Witts wins it down, taken though by Montagna, gets a handball to Ray. His kick was smothered. Falls back to Longer, who's tackled to the ground. Crashing through was Josh Thomas. Handballs it straight to Hayes. Handballs to Stephen. Through the middle. Kicks towards Stanley over his head. Frost should get there first for the Magpies unless the ball beats him. Oh, he got there just in time. It just kept running away from him. But he got there with about 30 centimetres to spare to rush it through for a behind. And Collingwood's lead is 6 points, 26-20.
Two poor forward entries by the Saints. They had leading targets and twice went over their heads.
Langdon into Williams, who goes bouncing through the defensive 50 and lays it off for Beams. Beams has a look around the city wing. It's nothing that he absolutely likes. Then he kicks for the lead of Pendlebury. He's pinched a step out on the lead. Brings it more centrally now to Witts. Transfer play back to the broadcast side from Langdon. He makes the dash out to halfback. Kicking the Fasolo direction. He overkicked him. It's just worked underneath it for Fasolo. Trying to get a cheap one there against Nunes. Fasolo up to full forward in the Goldsack direction. Goldsack had the run at it. Shenton gathers for the Saints though. Hand pass to Montagna, who ran out of room. He's dragged out over the boundary next to the behind post.
So as Jared said, next to the behind post, so deep in Collingwood's forward 50, right forward pocket as it's thrown in now. Witts wins it to the front to a dangerous spot. Adams is there. He gets tackled well by Stephen on the goal line. I think Fasolo's kicked it. He has. So Adams was tackled, was dispossessed, and Fasolo picked it up on the goal line and kicked his second. And all of a sudden, Collingwood out by 12 points at the 26.5-minute mark of the opening term.
I couldn't pick that, and the 6 backmen have collectively come together in a huddle, a really tight huddle of St Kilda backmen, and are trying to settle the thing down. It's happened so quickly, they've almost been nonplussed, hasn't it? It's just four goals almost is in as many minutes, and the young blokes are looking for a bit of support. And it's hurting the Saints. The Saints so far this year have been very poor. Once the ball hits the ground up forward, it comes out far too easily. They don't get second and third shots at goal. When it's going in, it's coming straight back out. Whereas Collingwood there, second and third effort, and they got the goal.
Pies by a couple of goals. Hayes gets hold of it first in the middle. He gives the hand pass off to Stephen, who worked it out the back. Murdoch's kick is up to half forward. It's gathered by Sipos, who kicks for Stanley. Didn't provide a great contest. Got worked out of it by the defence. Seedsman's able to run onto the loose ball for the Pies. His kick's not the best on the way up, but he's got a little bit of coverage. And gathering is Thomas, who kicks up in the cloak direction. Good decisive lead and strong hands. Off to Pendlebury. The kick is smothered on the way through. Shenton drops the footy. He wouldn't have been paid the mark, but he's got to go and win the loose ball. Hand pass to Delaney. Stands in the tackle. The Saints got to stand up here. Bruce is after it, but Sidebottom's after him. Strips him of the footy. Sidebottom has it, looking for a target and finding Fasolo, who is enjoying his transplant back forward.
This is the difference. Sidebottom, under immense pressure, running away on his left foot, still managed to pinpoint a player in amongst traffic. The last 3 Saints forward inside 50s, a free player running towards the line missed the target, every single one of them, whereas Sidebottom hits a target, most likely a goal.
He does play with expression when he's in the forward line. Alex Fasolo from 40 metres out for his third of the opening term. That'll do nicely. Collingwood skip this out to an 18-point lead late in the opening term, 6-2 to 3-2.
Well, it's a good start by Fasolo. 3 goals in the first quarter. You've got to be happy with that. But
well, Becky, they've tried to use him as a defender, but he does provide that X factor in the forward line that Collingwood hasn't really had since Andrew Cracker, really.
Reading the pocket profile in tonight's footy record by Jamie Element, who fancies himself as a celebrity, was one of the 5 questions. Alex Fasolo. So where would your player make you fancy? So you wouldn't play him down back. You put him in the front half.
If you want to be a celebrity, not many backmen are celebrities.
No.
Well, it is 4 goals in 8 minutes.
4 goals in 8 minutes.
So they're behind the Magpies, but with that sort of footy, they'll find themselves in front pretty quickly. Adams out of the congestion, gets the handball out to Elliott. They go long again, Collingwood. There's a chance there for McCaffrey, one-on-one, deep in the forward line against Shenton. I thought McCaffrey was going to mark it, but Shenton did okay. The kick a little dicey towards Dunstan, who took it on the bounce. He was tackled. It's deep in the pocket. Delaney now for the Saints. Nunes in there as well. And the umpire will come in and call for it deep in the right forward pocket for the Magpies, who are attacking again late in this term.
Yeah, it's relentless stuff from the Pies now. Thrown up too close to the boundary to result in anything. So the throw in might give a chance for a late score. Under the Coventry stand. Thrown in. White tapped it into open space. Shut down by Montagna. He was tackled. Ball is lost underneath. And we'll try again with the seconds ticking down. Nathan Buckley just reaches the arena. White the tap. Dunstan the footy. He gives the hand pass off to Nunes. His kick is okay coming out. Revolt couldn't hang on to it. Under pressure from Frost. Gathered by Blair. He's 50 from goal and the time clock is starting to be against him. Off to side bottom. High for full forward. Collingwood need a mark. Fasolo jumps hard at the pack. Trying to get through was Thomas. He's held up. And that should be enough to reach quarter time. It is. So Collingwood having the better of things in the dying minutes of that term.
Oh, there's a free kick, I reckon, Jared.
Oh, there is too.
I'm not sure that happened before the siren either.
Oh, dearie me. Well, Josh Thomas has been paid a free kick. Umpires converging from all directions.
Sadly, I think it wasn't until the second siren sounded that one umpire raised his hand to acknowledge that the game was over. I think in between, I might be wrong here, but what I saw, the free kick was between the first and the second siren.
Well, this looks most fortuitous indeed. Josh Thomas to take full toll. He does. And Collingwood leads by 24 points at quarter time as a result of it. A curiosity. 7-2-42 Collingwood. 3-2-20 St Kilda.
That's it. That can't happen, can it?
No,
but the game doesn't finish though until the umpire has signalled it.
Yes. What has happened is the umpire in the centre of the ground has seen the free kick before the siren sounded. No one around the ball could see it because there was the mass of humanity. Yep. So he's blown the whistle and started running in. The field umpire has signalled the end of the quarter. But our approaching umpire said, no, this happened before the siren sounded.
Okay.
And on the replay, the free kick it's there.
Yep.
You do see those in packs reasonably regularly get overlooked. But it was there. It has happened within the confines of the term. And Collingwood get the extra bonus goal as a result. 3 for Fasolo, 2 for Thomas, and 1 each for Blair and White. For St Kilda, 1 for Revolt, Ray and Malera. At quarter time, it's Collingwood by 24 points. This is Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio, News Radio and Grandstand Digital.
In the latest issue of ABC Organic Gardener magazine, forget McMansions, check out the tiny house trend. Peter Cundall says everyone can grow stunning cabbages. He tells you how. Nut trees, relatively easy to grow and highly productive, and there's a variety to suit every climate. Follow the step-by-step guide to building your own poultry house. ABC Organic Gardener magazine, May-June issue. Available now from ABC shops, centres, shop online and good news agents. Friday night footy.
Grandstand AFL.
Where the mark was taken by Murdoch. His kick is a beauty, right up to the 50. Sipos on the lead marks. He kicks for full forward because Malera is all on his own in the opposite forward pocket. There is an angle here, but he's close to go. To give St Kilda the lead, he nurses it home.
Stephen wide towards Revolt. Strong mark in front of Frost. Just outside the 50, Revolt. He kicks to the top of the square. He wants longer. He stretches. He can't mark. Ray with the crumb. Ray with the goal. And now Williams will kick to full forward. Cloak's there. Delaney with the spoil. Thomas off the pack. He's got it. Yes. 2 in a row to Collingwood.
Laid it off to Beams. Sweeping hand pass off to White. He just got room to get the hand pass away near the teeth of goal for Blair, who wrong foots himself, drags it back on the right and snaps it through for a goal.
Witts wins it to the front to a dangerous spot. Adams is there. He gets tackled well by Stephen on the goal line. I think Fasolo's kicked it. He has.
Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Local Radio, online and on ABC Grandstand Digital.
Collingwood by 24 points at quarter time. Other scores tonight. Sam Stosur did take the first set against Dominika Sibylkova, 6-4. It's 1-1 in the second set. 1-1 in the second set. In the rugby, the Super Rugby, the Crusaders 30 beat the Force 7. The Reds 21 leading the Highlanders 0. That's in the first half. And in the NRL tonight, Penrith 12 leading Parramatta 0.
It'd be handy if Stosur wins this, Jared, because it would put her into the fourth round, and with Serena Williams out of the top half, it really does open up for her. Sharapova is the obvious in her half, but outside that, she didn't have a lot of form coming in, but we know that she has got form at Roland Garros, so she's always dangerous when the expectations are low.
David Parkin and Nathan Burke.
I think, Nathan, at one stage we had your hope or your prediction that you were making.
Up to the 20-minute mark.
20-minute mark, wasn't it? I think they kicked 5 in 9 minutes, 5 goals in 9 minutes to sadly take out the hand. But I think you made the classical, comment that the 3 before that started 3 times without real pressure, no frontal or side pressure, a bit of chase from behind. 3 players attempted to deliver the ball inside 50. They were on 50 or just outside, inside 50. 2 reasonable leads, players under a bit of pressure. All 3 were turned over. And on the back of that, not only they turned it over, but they weren't able to hold it in. And 3 of those 5 goals came directly off turnovers when you were in control of the ball, and it allowed Collingwood to score probably their 3 easiest goals for the night. That, to me, is terribly disappointing because there's no rhyme or reason to that. Young, inexperienced or whatever, and it was a combination of both players who kicked the ball in. To me, that's the disappointment at this stage, because a lot of other things are pretty much even 36-34. Contested possession, they're up in that and they're working hard. Tackles 22-18, about similar. They seem to be working well and staying in the game, except that great margin you talk about, 22-9 is the inside 50s, and that is an absolute dominance.
Absolutely, and that's where the game is being won at the moment. Just probably the directness and efficiency of the Collingwood team. And one stat that we haven't got is time in the forward half. If we had that, I dare say it would almost be 65-35 in favour of Collingwood, because they've managed to, when they've got it forward, they've kept it forward and put pressure on the Saints coming out. The Saints have only looked dangerous when they've managed to beat that press and have an open forward line. As we said, 3 times had an open forward line and completely missed the target. But I think Collingwood's style of play in terms of let's get the ball forward, let's lock it down in there as much as we can, get second, third, fourth chances at goal, because the Saints are, as we said, inexperienced defenders. Quite often they'll compete that first one and they'll get a spoil in. But when it hits the ground, they'll probably go again. But weight of numbers will generally win out, and experience will win out on that third or fourth occasion. And that's what we're seeing Collingwood create goals out of nothing. Probably Jesse White's goal where the ball hit him on the chest. Very difficult to do something about that. But the other goals that Collingwood have got, they've crafted out of nowhere. They've made something happen. Players have run to the right spot, and the skills have made the difference. And to me, that's the difference at the moment. Saints, I'm loving their endeavour. It's just their polish that's leading them down.
And casualties from the first term. Nick Maxwell with a calf injury. He's out of business. And Mav Weller, in the first 4 seconds of the match, was hit by the elbow of Steele Sidebottom. He's concussed and done for the Knights. It's a skirmish in the middle, settled by Thomas for the Pies. Hand pass to Seedsman. They go inside 50 again. Cloak's the target. This time he's got it. Took the lunge out in front of Delaney.
It was a terrific kick. He took him to the spot. Cloak actually, he was neck and neck, and he just threw himself forward to get into the flight path of the ball. Delaney did everything that a backman could do to try and get a hand on it and interfere. Cloak took it. It was a great working effort and a lot of skill on the end of it.
Cloak was talking to himself all the way back. Now, to kick the goal from 30 outs, he has. Couple of behinds in the opening term. A goal now for Travis Cloak as he tries to haul himself back to form, and a dozen teammates go to ruffle his hair.
I was just going to say that 12 of his teammates, Jared, I counted them up as they went. You were very good in your calculation. The only ones who didn't were the blokes who were playing in the back half. And essentially, I felt a bit sorry for him coming out and saying, if I don't get the first one right, I'm in a bit of trouble. I thought, gee, you've opened yourself up, both for the blokes on the opposition camp and everybody else around you. So that's good for him. And he looked, couldn't see the talking that you could see, Jared, but he did talk himself into it and through it.
Well, his old man will be happy because he's getting a lot of chances. It's 23 inside 50s to 9. So taking that excuse out of play.
Well, it's 7 goals in 11 minutes. It's quite incredible.
Could you stop counting those, Whitey, please?
St Kilda has the clearance through Lenny Hayes as he kicks it towards right half forward. Away from Riewoldt, really. But Frost got a bad bounce that allowed Riewoldt to get to the contest and make sure it went out of bounds for a throw-in. I don't know if I've seen that for a long time. 7 goals in 11 minutes. Collingwood out by 5 goals now. Witts with the tap. Josh Thomas with the crumb for Collingwood. Kicking up towards Cloak. He's got 2 to beat. And it's Delaney. In fact, it's Bruce that takes the mark for the Saints. Well, Delaney was the other one in the contest, and Delaney will get it now with that short pass from Bruce. He'll go back to Josh Bruce, Will Delaney. And they'll try and switch play. Bruce has gone almost from one half back flank to the other. Dempster has it now for St Kilda. Still inside defensive 50. And he'll have to kick to a contest. He wants Stanley. Keefe with a spoil at the front is Pendlebury. Collects the football. Handballs over the top to McCaffer. Spins around. Kicks inside the 50. Nice kick, and White comes out and takes the mark for the Magpies. 35 metres out from goal. Just right of centre.
Just as well he took it. He taken the radar off by ducking his head at the last part of it. I don't think Coach would have liked that too much.
It was good team defence by the Magpies. The Saints took it from one side of the ground to the other to try and find a loose man, but they couldn't find it. Ended up kicking a long ball in the air and a front and centre again, getting to the right position, and the ball ends up in White's hands.
So Jesse White kicked a goal in the first term. It's a much easier set shot at goal, gives himself a lot of room from the man on the mark and kicks it straight over the top of the goal umpire for a goal. So it's 9-2-56 to 3-2-20. So when St Kilda kicked their third goal at the 19-minute mark of the first term, St Kilda led 3-1-19 to Collingwood 1-2-8. We are now only at the 3-minute mark of the second, and Collingwood 6 goals in front.
Saints have to keep being proactive. They're a very high mark and play on team. They're in the top 3 for marking the ball and playing on the scoreboard like this. They can't go into their shell and say, right, we're just going to keep keepings off, because that'll work for a little while, but it's not going to get them back into this game. So they really need to keep taking the game on. So it's a good test for young, inexperienced players.
Nathan Burke on grandstand to AFL. Longer wins the tap, but it came the way of McCaffer. The Magpies inside the 50 again on the bounce. Coming out hard was White. Bruce wraps him up in a good tackle, and he should win holding the ball. He does. Josh Bruce having the better of the encounter on that occasion. He lays it off for half-back, and Sipos is on the lead. Marks up, he gets to play on. He's run himself into a dead end against Tuvey, but he breaks the tackle. Sipos, he took the game on and he delivers up for half-forward. Stanley against Keefe. Keefe gets a fist in there, but straight to Schneider. He feeds the hand pass up to Riewoldt in the pocket. Knocked off his kick by Frost. It still might be all right, although Billings' hand pass is no good. Gave it straight up to Seedsman. Off to Keefe. And on the way out, he's floated the ball for Adams. Lifts his hand pass up over the top. and Seedsman will break through half-back. He had 2 bounces. Redirects play into the middle for Pendlebury. Feeds it off for Langdon. Has a look at the forward setup. Ran a long way. The goal front is unguarded. He just needs a bounce. It'll roll end on end and come up a metre shorts as Dempster gets there to usher it through for a rush behind.
Shouldn't have been using one of those soft golf balls that got too much backspin in the goal square.
Unfortunately, the Collingwood forwards had all led, and that one extra handball in the middle all led them out of position. So it can do that. You just got to get it in there as fast as you can.
And Josh Bruce marks the kicking and goes long towards Delaney. He can't mark as the pressure came late from Steele's side bottom, and it's gone out of play for a throw-in.
Actually, it's not a bad spectacle as a game.
No, the ball's moving.
Yeah, ball's moving.
Nicely.
That's good. One-on-one.
Thrown in. You wouldn't be saying that if you were coaching, though, Parko. Pendlebury takes it off the pack, got tackled, goes back into the congestion, the footy. The tackles are applied, and it will be thrown up on the City wing.
Coaching who, Adam?
True.
The scoreboard's not pretty, but the spectacle is.
It's funny how as you get older, your vision of the game changes, isn't it?
Longer wins the tap down, taken by Billings of St Kilda. Rushes a footy towards half forward on the bounce. Revolt met it well. Handballed it across to Sipos. Now Ross kicks inside 50 for St Kilda. Stanley up, couldn't take the mark at the back. Seedsman gets there first. He's knocked over, and the ball goes over for a throw-in. Left forward pocket for St Kilda.
Well, Frost didn't like a little of what happened there with Schneider, and he came running in from a fair way off to bump him. Players subside, and now the throw in. Need one against the flow here, the Saints. It's nothing from the tap. Barely room to breathe in there as Pendlebury took it, and immediately he was wrapped up. Longer and Witts down to Schneider, trying to break through 1, 2 tackles, couldn't get through the second. Seedsman wins holding the ball. So the defence standing strong there. Seedsman across the face of goal for Langdon. Langdon dinks the hand pass over the top for Young, and he'll kick it out of half-back. Goldsack was the target. It slipped right through his fingers. He still might get it, though. Takes possession, but by the time he did, he was wrapped up by Nunes. Wrenched out of there by Murdoch. Not able to make anything of it. Tuvey disputes it. It'll be a jump ball. Oh, it did come out eventually. I suppose if you wait long enough. Lumumba gives a hand pass to McCaffrey. Back to Lumumba in the tackle of Revolt. McCaffrey again saves the day for the Pies. Pops it forward to the middle for Goldsack. Sweeping hand pass to Adams. He delivers inside the 50, and low down. Elliott is claiming the mark, which the umpire will not pay. It's to be balled up 45 from the Collingwood goal.
Reckon it might have gone to the third umpire.
Yes.
Although Elliott wasn't arguing, all his teammates were doing it for him, so maybe he knew he didn't take it.
I've seen less paid.
Yes.
Yeah, so am I.
Witts wins the tap, tried to get away from the congestion, but didn't really succeed. Dunstan picks up for St Kilda. He's well tackled by Beams, and again the umpire has to call for it just inside the 50 for Collingwood. 8 minutes played, second quarter. Collingwood up by 37 points. Thrown up quickly. Longer wins it down to Jones. Handballs towards Ray. Couldn't get a handle on it. Side bottom could. Got the handball to Beams, to Young, back to Beams. All handballs. Now Beams kicks. Now he kicks to full forward. All St Kilda. And Josh Bruce takes the mark for the Saints, and he distributes a handball out to Dempster.
Dempster, well, his kick's not a great one. He'd probably be happy to see this go out of bounds. It bounces against and goes over the boundary at left half forward for the Pies.
It's good to see Josh Bruce and Delaney actually backing themselves and taking a few big, strong marks in defence. It's a good sign from young defenders.
At the throw-in, Witts, who's entrusted with most of the ruck work tonight, wins the tap for the Pies. Adams coming through the pack, gives it off to Williams, pokes it up inside the 50. He wrong-footed for Solo, and it should pan out all right for Murdoch, who gathers in defence for the Saints. Although Cloak smothers the hand pass, they've still got numbers at it though. Gathering is Delaney, who sees off the initial danger, uses Bruce on the way out. His kick's a bit aimless around the wing. Langdon works the turnover for Collingwood. Off to side bottom. Into Lumumba in the middle. Hand passed instinctively off to Young, who has a bounce from the wing. He's put it out wide at half forward. That's not going to work initially, but it's well gathered by Blair, who gives and goes with McCaffrey. Blair up to full forward. Saints have a stronghold there. Ooh, they had two jump at it. Murdoch stands his ground in front with Bruce threatening to spoil things.
That could have been catastrophic. And in the end, Murdoch goes short to Nunes. Inside defensive 50. He'll kick towards Alonga. Goes over his head as he tried to mark with the one hand. And it goes out of play. Pendlebury traps it. But he's actually on the bench at the moment.
Not a good sign for Collingwood. That's two big, long 50-metre kicks that's gone inside their 50, and neither Goldsack nor Cloak have managed to make any impact on the contest.
From the throw-in, comes towards McCaffer. He couldn't pick it up. Pendlebury did, but got tackled. It falls St Kilda's way to Montagna. Oh, well done, Young. Montagna's kick was good to Stanley. He thought he was going to mark it uncontested, but Young came late and put the arm in there and spoiled it out of bounds.
Terrific effort, I thought. Nobody even tapped him on the way past. Very brave.
Thrown in. One down by Longer. Hayes, good handball to Ross. He's caught on his right here, which is his wrong, and he kicks towards Revolt, who has to spoil in a 2-on-1 situation against. And he's at least been able to get it to the boundary for a throw in 30 out from St Kilda's goal.
He can play Sebi Ross when he's got the ball. He's just not so good at getting it.
Right forward pockets. Jesse White in front wins the tap. Off the ground went Jones, but didn't come off for the Saints. Beams is able to release Williams. Oh, he grapples the kick through the defensive 50 and sends it straight to Dunstan, who on the turn kicks it for Revolt, sets himself. Frost made the spoil over the top and kept his footing. Good win for the defender. Off to Keefe, now to Lumumba. Dashing out of defence, had a bounce, kicked it for White. Feeds the hand pass off to the side. Beams kept coming. Spreads out to the broadcast wing. Cloak, defensive side of the middle. He marks and has a look downfield. Uses it short for Thomas. Thomas just holding the footy at the interchange gates. Brings it in now for Cloak. Gave a little bit of ground in his endeavours. And Cloak will go all the way back through Frost near fullback.
And Frost will spread it towards the city side to Langdon. It goes over his head and it actually goes out of play.
Shocker.
Yeah, that was a kick under no pressure from Frost, and he missed Langdon by some 7 or 8 metres over his head.
He could have kept him going down the corridor. I mean, he was putting him out wide as it was. Terrible kick.
Ball comes back into play. White grabs it out of the ruck. No one tackled him, so that's okay. Inboard handball to Williams. Williams gives the handball out. Feeding it nicely over the top with a handball. Collingwood running well now with Seedsman, the forgotten man. Takes him out. Seedsman runs inside the 50. Goes for goal and has... Not sure.
Go check.
Goal umpire's going to go upstairs here.
She went to the wrong side.
My thought was it was probably touched in the field of play, but I'm 150 metres away. We are going to go upstairs. That's spoiled.
You'll be closer than the camera they put up, so you're every chance to be right.
The Collingwood players are signalling touched and to set up their zone. That's always a good sign.
Well, it's spoiled it because Paul Seedsman's missed so much footy, and we saw his electrifying speed. He was able to settle and fire at goal from 40. Dempster has got to the ball. Was it on the line or was it over the line?
Touched.
Yeah, Chelsea for once got in a very bad position. She needed to get round on the post, and she was in line with the person running. Could not have seen it.
Anti-climax, only behind Collingwood by 38, 13 play second.
Murdoch tried to play onto himself and he lost the footy in his endeavours. Regathers to save himself a blush or two, long on the way out, and a free kick going St Kilda's way for a chop of the arms for Ray. St Kilda building up towards half forward. Stanley takes the mark, uses the hand pass in for Dunstan. He gives it off, and the shot at goal from out wide by Billings is going to be marked next to the behind post by Malera, who opens play up beautifully for Revolts. And they've worked that from end to end. It wasn't neat the whole way down the field, but it does come up with a desired chance for Revolts.
Jared, it was just as if that free kick in the back for the marking, it was not anticipated by the Collingwood players, because they're actually going with a non-free kick, which actually opened it up for all the St Kilda blokes who've been left behind. They read it far better.
This is to put a halt to 8 goals on the run against them. Revolts, he'll do that. And they peg one back, the Saints. 4-2-26. Collingwood 9-4-58. We've gone 15 minutes of the second term.
I think it's wonderful that Riewoldt now goes back with the confidence. Jack Hawkins now, when I see Jack Hawkins line up, I'm a lot more confident about him scoring. And Riewoldt's technique is just so it's not so flamboyant. It's very neat and very, limited.
Well, he's kicked 26-6 for
Has
the
he?
year.
Yeah, well, it's just a lovely style. It's who kicks the Port Adelaide? Schultz. He has this very neat, limited, not flamboyant, almost predictable technique.
That wasn't a good technique from the field umpire. It was a terrible bounce. He's going to have to recall it and now throw it up. So Collingwood's lead cut to 32 points at the 15-minute mark of the second term. White wins the tap, but it is a St Kilda clearance to Stephen. A high ball towards right half forward. Billings is there, but he's knocked out of it by Langdon, and the ball goes out of play. Martin Blake.
Interesting that St Kilda have stayed in a man-on-man formation the whole game, even though they're 5 goals down. Love to know what Berkey thinks about that.
We'll ask him at the next stoppage. Thrown in. White grabs it again out of the rut for the Magpies. Thomas knocks it back towards the corridor. Front right corner of the square for St Kilda as Stephen picks up. He was tackled. Longer goes in. Handballs it to Dunstan. Now to Ross. All handballs. Now they've got a chance with Nunes spreading it very wide. Over the top of Montagna, who clipped heels with himself and fell over, and it's gone out of play for a throw-in. Now at left half forward for St Kilda. Berkey, you like the one-on-one play?
I do. I just noticed myself, it's great that we start the game with 6 forwards, 6 defenders up either end. It's really refreshing.
Longer and White in the ruck here. White wins it underneath. Jones pats it back over his head, but Blair gets it for Collingwood. Hand pass to White, who's dispossessed in the tackle. Carried forward in the tackle was Thomas. There's no free kick. Stephen and Jones are working hard for the Saints. Jones with a kick up to half forward. Billings couldn't gather it round the laces. Lumumba gets hold of it. He gives it off to Beams. Collingwood up beyond halfway, but not for long, because the kick has gone straight to Shenton, who brings it inboard for Schneider. It's got a good-looking kick out to the broadcast side for Dempster, and he can put it in the revolt direction. He's got the one-on-one. He lunges at it against 2. He couldn't hang on to the mark. Keith gathers it off the turf in defence. Gives it off now to Langdon. He uses Young. Short ball for Seedsman, which just comes off before clattering in was Schneider.
But he was able to get the handball to Young, so Collingwood's movement continued, and Young's kick was sensational to Cloak, who marks on the AFL logo, but with him so far out from goal, there's not really a lot to kick to, so he has to chip short to Witts. Still at left half forward, far too far out to score. St Kilda getting plenty of numbers back. Witts kicks to the pocket. He wanted Cloak, who'd run forward, but it was an aimless kick really, and St Kilda with Delaney takes an uncontested mark. Goes short as they work it around in defence. Shenton involved, Curran was involved, and now the long kick comes out towards the wing. Nice kick there from Stephen, and he's found Billings. He'll chip it towards Revolt, who marks on the city wing. So St Kilda, some good ball movement here as they work it along the boundary. The next kick to Stanley. Low down, can't quite take the mark. Frost now with the tackle. He's trying to get it to the boundary, Stanley, and he has done so, and the umpire says, I'll give it to the boundary umpire.
I'll check whether he actually marked that one, because he looked at the umpire inquiringly.
Yeah, he had a good claim at it. Thrown in at half forward for the Saints. Longer came from behind, won the tap. Down to Pendlebury though, off to McCaffer. Up beyond halfway for the Pies. Dempster's the third man up to spoil Cloak. Curran still a little bit lax against the boundary, but he gets a second look. He gives it off to Shenton. Montagna, Schneider fumbles. Shenton gets back in there trying to win it back. It's Schneider who's caused the difficulty here, and he's trying to win it back for St Kilda. He propels himself at the footy, shovels it out, gives Curran another look out against the boundary, gains 15 metres or so. The kick that slides out over the boundary.
The Pies have almost been playing a paddock for the last 5 minutes, and they're looking up, running through the midfield, but there's nobody up forward, so they really need to keep 3 or 4 at least inside 50.
Collingwood by 32, up on the wing. Hayes gets hold of it for the Saints. Gives it off to Ross. Missed his target by hand, but Stephen was being held without the footy. The Saints a chance to bring it forward.
For a team, Berkey, that
should be 50 against McCaffer, who held up and held up and held up.
For a team, Berkey, that's 32 points up, they're doing a lot wrong, Collingwood.
Exactly. They're very defensive-minded.
So St Kilda goes back to Delaney at centre-half back, now across to Nunes, who'll go long. He wants Revolt. He's got 3 Collingwood players around him. Actually clears all of them. Langdon first to mop up.
Gets the handball for the Magpies to Pendlebury. Shapes the kick around the corner towards Seedsman. It went over his head. Forced to tackle Shetton, who was coming in the other direction. Seedsman did a good job there. Was able to lock it up, and it'll be thrown up right half forward for St Kilda. Sam Stosur serving for the match against Dominika Sibylkova in the third round of the French Open, which is good news for Australian tennis, considering she's the only one left. Thrown up. Diving in there was Ray. Didn't get any high contact according to the umpire. Montagna dropped it when he was tackled. Noons there got a handball out to Jones, who kicks out of the congestion, but only as far as Langdon. Handballs to Tuvey. He just crashed through a tackle, then got his kick smothered. Schneider did well. Falls to Malera for St Kilda. Wide handball to Montagna. Kicks back towards Revolt. He's a chance here in the wrestle. He'll get a free kick. Front on contact. Jamie Elliott was forced to try and defend Revolt in that situation and clearly just hung on for dear life. And that was always going to be a free kick.
Yes.
The fact he actually tried to argue that was probably more entertaining than the free kick he gave away.
I'm like a chihuahua.
So Nick Revolt lines up for his third. He's got his third. So 2 in a row to St Kilda. And Collingwood's lead is cut for 26 points at the 21-minute mark of the second term.
Makes a huge difference to your team when you can turn the ball over in your forward half. And that's what the Saints today, they applied a smother down here on the boundary line, had the numbers there. They can get the ball in, and you've got a revolt against a Jamie Elliott. That only occurs when you turn the ball over unexpectedly. It's such an important part of the game. If you can get in between the centre line and the 50, win the ball back really quickly. It just makes such a difference to the whole game.
9-4 to 5-2. There's 6 minutes left in this second term. St Kilda could take one more out of this lead on the way to half-time. Still might have a game. Longa wins it down to Stephen, who's taken in the tackle. He didn't do a lot to get rid of that. I don't like his chances here. That's holding the ball. You have to do better than that. Adams gets up to play on Malera, runs him down. Terrific stuff. The Saints win the ball back. Malera gives it off to Ross as they look for some dynamic play through the middle. The kick is out near Stanley, but not to him. Spoils are made. Montagna comes through, gathers at the 50. He's dispossessed by Elliott. Good in defence this time. Off now to Young. Kick out to the broadcast wing. Wicks is in pursuit. He'll get there first. He should have a little bit of time. The ball made a dive for the boundary on him. He works it up the line. So he did reasonably well. Blair. Sharp hand pass in for Williams. On to Seedsman. Collingwood up inside the 50. Cloak's got a one-on-one with Delaney. Delaney gets a fist onto the footy. Bruce is there to help him. Great forward pressure being applied by Fasolo. Hit Dempster hard, wrapped him up. It'll be balled up 15 out from the Collingwood goal.
A little bit more intensity from Collingwood after these 2 goals from St Kilda's Nick Revolt. Thrown up. Witts won it down. St Kilda just seem to have more numbers around the contest at the moment. Pendlebury forced to tackle close to the boundary. Comes out St Kilda's way to Dunstan. He's tackled, got a handball over his head. Noons couldn't quite keep it in play as he got his kick away. And he did kick it away, but when he was over the boundary, so it will come right back.
I'm liking, actually, you mentioned Dunstan's work rate. He's been around it when he's most needed. Been terrific.
Yeah, 13 disposals for Dunstan.
Yeah, he goes all right.
So the umpire retrieves the footy and throws it in. 45 out from Collingwood's goal. Pendlebury off the pack, then got bumped into by Stephen. Comes out to Josh Thomas. He got the handball out. Huge tackle there applied. St Kilda working really well here in defence to not allow Collingwood an opportunity at goal. And again, the umpire has to come in and call for it. Ray had the big tackle there for the Saints, but it's really that team defence at the moment, Berkey, from St Kilda.
Yeah, it's great to have that one tackle, but 2 or 3 in a row, that's what makes a difference.
Longa wins the tap for St Kilda. Again, still really congested around here. Seb Ross is there. He's dispossessed by Pendlebury. Ray out of the pack. Kicks towards half-back. Oh, Stanley got a bad bounce. So did Revolt. Langdon came in, did well. Handballs to Seedsman. Gets away from Ross. Handballs to Thomas. Back to Seedsman. Runs into a wall of St Kilda players. Got a handball over to Lumumba. Now to Witts. Witts back to the top of the goal square. Diving in, not completing the mark was Blair. Cloak's there as well. Got a handball for Solo round the body for 4. It is 4. Gee, they made hard work of that. But they did get their 10th goal, the Magpies. 10-4-64, St Kilda 5-2-32.
Well, very lucky there, Travis Cloak, because I think he was trying to go the old dummy handball. I'm not going to handball it off and go myself, but he got bumped and the ball spilled out to Fasolo, who he should have handballed to originally, and got the right result, a goal to Fasolo, but Travis Cloak, if that didn't come off, they'd be having a few words in his ear roll.
I love coaches and their ideas, but Alex Fasolo was a forward every day of the week. Martin Blake.
Jesse White's just been off the ground and up to the rooms for a couple of minutes with a cut hand. Might not see him till after half-time.
In the middle, White with a hand pass, which was picked off. The Saints conspire to win it away. Stephen to Jones, up to half-forward. It was well marked by Hayes, who slips the hand pass away. Stephen was on the follow-up, but he butchered it on the way in. He outweighted Revolt, and once he let up, he kicked it back, and it trickles out of play.
I love Jack Stephen and everything about him, but if he can tighten that area of his game up, hit the guy in the lead, he'd be an absolute superstar.
Be predictable. Be predictable. Longer takes it out of the ruck. He got caught through him the boot and turned it over. Lumumba comes charging through for the Pies. Hand pass to Langdon. He's kicking to an open forward line. It's Elliott against Murdoch. It bounces in front of Elliott. Murdoch's trying to edge him out of it. He does well. Terrific win for Brodie Murdoch in his first game of the season. He kicks it around the outer wing for Sippos.
And that's the sort of thing that excites Saints supporters. Not necessarily over the scoreboard, but those one-on-one wins.
Terrific was.
Sippos strongly in the direction of Stanley. I think he's marked that between his knees. It bounced out of his hands, but he had a good wherewithal about him.
It's not how, it's how many.
He just wedged it. He wedged it. So Stanley will be able to unload this up to full forward. Revolt will be in the pack. Longer gets to the front of it. Oh, good jump. Didn't quite hang on. Williams with a hand pass to Witts out of full-back. Into the pocket now for Langdon. Langdon guides it against the boundary, and he did it well. And the mark is taken by Keith.
So 27 minutes played in the second term. Keith in the back pocket, told to play on. Sells a bit of candy. And then kicks long towards the wing. He wants side bottom. With him there was Dempster. Neither could mark. Cloak just barrels it long inside the 50. This is a foot race. Goldsacks getting back there. Great defence there from Bruce. He then has some support late. And Dempster comes up with a footy for St Kilda. So they were able to work that well there, the Saints. And the short kick to Ray in the right back pocket. They've all got to gather their breath because they're all darting back in defence, St Kilda. Ray goes short, wanting Revolt over his head. Lumumba couldn't take the mark, but he is first to recover. Centering ball is okay. Marked by Thomas to Pendlebury. Handballs to Adams. Adams absolutely shanks it into the right goal post, or behind post, from only 25 metres out from goal. It is a St Kilda free kick, and good news from Roland Garros. Sam Stozer is through to the fourth round, a 6-4, 6-4 win over Dominika Sibilkova.
Nunes on the restart without event. He finds Shenton. And Shenton's going to go gallivanting across the face of goal. He's had a bounce. And he finds Delaney inside the final minute of this half. Delaney from against the behind posts. Revolt's got to go against Frost. They both jump at it. Frost brings it to ground. Thomas charging through. Gathers. Takes a flying shot at goal. It's out to the right. And Shenton is there to make sure that it will grow to nothing more. A rush behind Collingwood by 33.
Once again, another couple of illustrations as to how Collingwood aren't really on top of their game at the moment. They might have one more chance before half-time. Lumumba gets the handball to Tuvey. He kicks to Cloak, but it's a bad kick from Tuvey. It's gone out of bounds on the full.
Letting the Saints off the hook late in the quarter. That's three chances, really, that they've had to score goals or have shots for goals, but not taken any of them.
Collingwood's had 38 inside 50s. Oh, up high was Langdon.
it was a little early and Witts had to spoil in the end over the boundary for a throw-in. So maybe one more chance with Collingwood between wing and left half forward. Witts to go in ruck with Longer. It's thrown in. Longer wins it down. Ross there for the Saints. Gets a kick to the middle. Maybe St Kilda a late chance because the mark has been taken by Sipos. He goes over the top to Hayes. Running back with a fly and he marks. He plays on. He centres over the head of Stanley. Stephen off the ground. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful goal by Stephen. And it's St Kilda 1, Collingwood 0 on half-time.
Am I right to say, had he picked it up and kicked it, the siren would have gone.
Yep, they had one eye on the clock and one eye on the play, and that was his only option was to kick it off the ground. He had 1 second left to go.
Oh, that was really good. Nathan Burke says he can't kick, but he can certainly kick off the ground.
Well, his best 2 kicks for the year have both been one off the ground, virtually over his head for a goal, and that one off the ground for a goal. His best 2 kicks for the year.
Oh, that was sensational. As I said, it looked like with only about 15 seconds remaining, Collingwood was going to be the only team to be able to score a goal from that situation. And somehow St Kilda were able to get from one end of the ground to the other with that soccer goal from Stephen on the siren. So let's reset here. Half-time, Collingwood's lead is 27 points. Nathan Buckley was not happy at all watching what unfolded there towards the end. Collingwood 10-5-65, St Kilda 6-2-38. The goal kickers for Collingwood, it is 4 to Alex Fasolo, 2 each to Josh Thomas and Jesse White, and 1 each to Cloak and to Blair. And for St Kilda, it is 3 to Nick Revolt and singles to Stephen, Malera and also Ray. So at quarter time, Collingwood's lead was 24 points. They kicked the first 2 goals of the second term to get it out to 38. But St Kilda kicked 3 of the last 4 goals of the half to get it back to a manageable deficit at the half.
This is Grandstand AFL on ABC, local radio, news radio and Grandstand Digital. David Parkin and Nathan Burke.
I don't want to deviate from the game for a minute, but your call where Reece Stanley missed it with his hands and caught it with his elbows. I ran in at centre back in the dying moments in the second semi-final against St Kilda at the MCG in 1971 to see Norm Bustle at centre half had to go with his hands, missed that. Put his elbows together, missed that, stuck his knees together and caught it between his knees, and it was a saving moment in the game. It just brought back that memory. I was standing there waiting for the drop that never came. I still think, and you're sort of looking at me with a funny look, I still think it's been because of the reason you gave, 6 versus 6 and 4 versus 4, and a couple of wingers who are playing as wingers up and down the ground. I like that. And and you'd be tempted as a coach, I reckon Richard would be tempted as a coach to stop the carnage a bit. I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad the best teaching way, a young coach talked to me on the phone the other day about, beating the extra man in the back half and what should he do? Should he do the same thing, etc. I said, we've got a young team in development and this is what St Kilda are. For goodness sake, as often as you can, even if it means more numbers front, and they haven't done that. So they've had the one-on-one all over the ground. To me, you teach the fundamentals of the game, particularly a game which has gone so far away from man versus man, which we all love. I think this has been a better game as a spectacle for all the people, and St Kilda are hanging on for grim death and haven't done too bad. I think they cut back what it was 22. Was it in the first? No, it was
24.
It's in the front. It was 22-9 into the forward 50 in the first quarter, and it was 16-12 in that quarter. So they've been able to create very similar number of opportunities going to the front half. You've said the work into 50 has been far better. Maybe not. Maybe the work at holding it into 50 has been far better with Collingwood than it has been with St Kilda.
Exactly, and the other reason why the Saints don't necessarily need to play a loose defender, even though they're this far behind, is that Collingwood forwards are all pushing so far up the ground. If you're the first defender back inside 50, you're virtually loose defender anyway. And we've seen that quite a few times where Dempster, Delaney and Bruce have all taken uncontested marks, and even Murdoch took an uncontested mark, all taken uncontested marks from Collingwood. Long kicks inside 50, they're not loose men, they've just pushed back harder than what the Collingwood forwards have. When the Collingwood forwards work back inside 50, that's when they look dangerous. When there's numbers inside there, we've seen their little players like Fasolo kick 4 goals, mainly from that congestion inside 50. When they all push up the ground, trying to give probably Travis Cloak more room, they don't look dangerous at all. So if I was the Collingwood forward coach at half-time, I'd say, guys, I love the way you're working up the ground, but if you don't get back inside 50, I'd prefer you to stay there and start there and stay there.
So we're about to head to the news, but you think it's something that Collingwood can fix quite quickly at half and reset? And that's the problem for St Kilda. If they get that right, they will start to really hit the scoreboard a lot more.
You've hit it right on the head. I think you're both absolutely correct.
Half-time at Docklands is Friday night. It's Collingwood 10-5-65, leading St Kilda 6-2, 38. More from David Parkin and Nathan Burke after the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
Good evening, Jim Graham with ABC News. An inquiry has recommended quashing the conviction of David Harold Eastman for the 25-year-old murder of senior AFP officer Colin Winchester. The head of the inquiry has concluded he's fairly certain Eastman is guilty, but he's also found there's been a substantial miscarriage of justice. This report from Gordon Taylor.
The inquiry has recommended the murder conviction against David Eastman for the killing of one of Australia's top police officers in 1989 be quashed. Eastman has already served 19 years in jail for the murder of senior AFP officer Colin Winchester. The inquiry into his conviction uncovered serious doubts about the forensic evidence used to convict him. Inquiry head Justice Brian Martin found there'd been a serious miscarriage of justice and he's not been given a fair trial. Justice Martin said he was fairly certain Eastman was guilty, but recommended the conviction be quashed because of the passage of time. Gordon Taylor, ABC News, Canberra.
A cabinet minister is urging senators to think about the national interest when voting on the government's budget measures. Jane Norman has more from Parliament House.
The Prime Minister's started meeting with the crossbench senators he'll need to win over to get his legislation through the upper house. The Social Services Minister, Kevin Andrews, is responsible for some of the more contentious budget measures.
We'll be asking all the senators, regardless of their political party or affiliation, to look to what's the national interest in this regard.
The Palmer United Party will share the balance of power in the new Senate. Its leader, Clive Palmer, says the party won't be supporting tough new earn or learn measures for the dole.
Not all Australians are capable of learning. That you've got some dumb kids out there, you know.
Mr Palmer is still pushing for his party to be given extra staff. Jane Norman, ABC News, Canberra.
The Immigration Minister, Scott Morrison, says the government shouldn't be funding advocacy groups like the Refugee Council of Australia. Earlier this week, he reversed a budget decision to continue funding the council for the next 4 years. However, Mr Morrison says the council may still be offered contracts to provide specific services.
But in terms of administrative funding for an advocacy group in a tough budget like this, frankly, I just form the view that taxpayers' funds were not going to be spent on those types of activities.
A major inquiry into allegations of a police and church cover-up of child sexual abuse in the New South Wales Hunter region has been almost as critical of the whistleblower as it is of the Catholic Church. Lucy Carter has more.
Whistleblower Detective Chief Inspector Peter Fox sparked the Special Commission of Inquiry in 2012 when he went on the ABC's Late Line program and claimed that the Catholic Church and police were covering up paedophilia in the church. The inquiry's report tabled to State Parliament today found no evidence of a police cover-up, but is damning of the church's handling of two now dead paedophile priests, Dennis McAlinden and James Fletcher. It's named 5 senior church officials who covered up the pair's crimes, allowing them to abuse children for decades. It's also recommended the prosecution of an unnamed senior church official for knowledge of offences committed by Fletcher. The inquiry's report is also damning of Detective Chief Inspector Fox. It's found he was an unsatisfactory witness with no evidence to support his claims that senior police tried to stop offences from being investigated.
The White House is concerned pro-Russian militants in eastern Ukraine are using advanced weapons in the conflict. This follows the shooting down of a Ukrainian military helicopter which killed 12 soldiers. The BBC's Mark Lowen.
This is a significant loss of life for the Ukrainian military and a major blow as Kiev pursues what it calls its anti-terror operation here. The helicopter was shot down by rebel fighters as it transported troops to a military base around the town of Slavyansk. There was also an admission today by one of the leaders of the self-styled Donetsk People's Republic, Ukraine's breakaway eastern region, that some of his fighters who died in a battle at Donetsk airport earlier in the week were Russian, fueling accusations that Moscow is playing a larger part in the conflict than it says.
Italian authorities have seized 30,000 bottles of counterfeit premium wine. Police say table wines were falsely labelled with premium names in a fraud worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. As part of the 3-month investigation, police staked out restaurants, wine bars and shops stocking the fakes. They say some bottles may have been intended for international markets. In sport, Essendon coach Mark Thompson says the team is entering the middle of the season in better shape than in previous years, despite currently sitting outside of the top 8. The Bombers face the Tigers tomorrow night at the annual Dreamtime at the G fixture. Thompson says his players are more comfortable as outsiders at this stage of the competition.
We're capable of playing good footy, and every other year we've been in this position at midpoint. We've been on top of the ladder, we've been talked up, and this club can't sustain that sort of stuff. So we're always better when we've got something to work into.
And that's the latest in ABC News.
Here it is from ABC Books, Spotless A to Z, the ultimate guide to stain removal. Finding solutions to stains is easier than ever now. Beetroot or burn marks, mud or mulberries, grass stains or glue. On clothing, upholstery, timber, leather or concrete, the solutions are at your fingertips. Spotless A to Z by Shannon Lush and Jennifer Fleming. Available now from ABC shops, centres and shop online.
Friday night footy.
Grandstand AFL.
Thomas for the Pies. Hand pass to Seedsman. They go inside 50 again. Cloak's the target. This time he's got it. Cloak was talking to himself all the way back. Now, to kick the goal from 30 outs, he has.
United did well. Falls to Malera for St Kilda. Wide handball to Montagna. Kicks back towards Revolt. He's a chance here in the wrestle. He'll get a free kick. Front on contact. Lines up for his third. He's got his third. So 2 in a row to St Kilda. Now to Wentz. Wentz back to the top of the goal square. Diving in, not completing the mark was Blair. Close there as well. Got a handball for Solo round the body for 4. It is 4. Running back with a flight, he marks. He plays on. He centres over the head of Stanley. Stephen off the ground. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful goal by Stephen. And it's St Kilda 1, Collingwood 0 on half-time.
Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Local Radio, online and on ABC Grandstand Digital.
Half-time at Docklands, it's Collingwood 10-5-65, leading St Kilda 6-38. The multiple goal kickers for Solo with 4, Jesse White and Josh Thomas 2 each, while for St Kilda 3 for Nick Revolt. In other scores, the Super Rugby in progress, the Reds 31 leading the Highlanders 17. That's after 68 minutes. In the NRL, approaching the hour mark, Penrith 24, Parramatta 0. And Sam Stosur in the French Open 6-4, 6-4 over Dominika Sibilkova to reach the 4th round there. We'll run you through all the numbers shortly, but Nathan Burke, as the Saints hit the rooms, there'd be a bit for Alan Richardson to work with. Some of what they would have set out they've achieved, and it sort of reset their goals for the second half.
I think so. Look, they would have been disappointed with certainly the last 10 minutes of that first quarter. They got themselves back into the game after a slow first 10 minutes. Then Collingwood really kicked away. So the good thing was that they were able to adjust and change some of the things that they were doing in that first quarter. And the really competitive second half, Collingwood looked dangerous at times. They do look dangerous when they've got that pack forward line. But again, the Saints, Rewalt with 3 goals. He's been really their only forward. Malera has been a little bit dangerous. One of their issues is when the ball hits the ground, it comes out far too easily. And they really need to find some key forwards. And Stephen Milne retired last year. That was one of his strengths. Not necessarily the tackling and the pressure, but he get his hands on the ball once it hit the ground. They haven't been able to find another consistent small key forward to help Rewalt out. Stanley's not the most consistent big man going around. We know Nick Rewalt is. It's that forward, that medium size and small forward. They just haven't been able to put their hand on. Whereas you look at Collingwood, they can throw a guy like Fasola up forward, who's been playing down back all year, and he kicks 4 goals. Saints don't have anyone of that ability yet.
So where's Tom Lee at? Because he was going to be that player. They gave up a fair bit to get him to the football club. I know that he was spoken about during the week, and Richo just sort of said he needs to work harder, that he's not going to be gifted games. He's a gifted footballer. Is he close?
Look, he needs to string 2 or 3 together. And even though they've got a lot of injuries and they're playing a lot of young fellas, Richo's rule is that you still have to earn a game. Like Sipos has only played the 3 for the year. He wasn't working hard enough in the eyes of the coach, hence he didn't get a game. So Richo is really strong on, whilst we may be rebuilding, we're not going to gift games to people who don't deserve them. So Tommy Lee fits squarely in that category.
They just need him to come on because, as I said, they gave up a fair bit for him, and he's exactly what St Kilda needs, as you were just articulating.
Exactly, and look, there's no doubt he's probably the best shot for goal in the team. When we're not going to have 75 inside 50s like the Swans had last night, we might get our 40 to 50 max. You really need to make the most of every opportunity, and he's a guy who can do that.
We're talking about the stats and talking about inside 50s. Collingwood's had 38 to half time, so they're on track for that sort of mid-70s the way they're going, and it could be so much bigger than what it is at the moment. So if you've just joined our coverage here on Grandstand AFL, Collingwood 10-5-65, St Kilda 6-2-38, just going through some of the stats to half time. Overall disposals are very even. Collingwood 198, St Kilda 197. Contested possessions, St Kilda +1. Marks, St Kilda +16. Clearances equal 21-21. So all that's fairly good for St Kilda. Then that inside 50 count, 38-22. Tackles Collingwood's way, 45-31. Free kicks St Kilda 11 and Collingwood 7. Individually for Collingwood, Pendlebury has 16. Josh Thomas 15. It was a late inclusion for the Magpies. Beams 14, Langdon and Sidebottom, and also Lumumba 13. Cloak's found a bit of form, 11 disposals, 6 marks and 1 goal too. Seedsman also a late inclusion, he's got 11. Then 10 each to McCaffey, Young and Adams. For St Kilda, Nunes has 15, Montagna 15, Stephen 14. Then 13 each to Ross and Hayes, 12 to Dunstan. 11 to Ray Shenton, and 10 each to Murdoch and Dempster. Revolt has had 9 disposals, 5 marks, and has kicked 3 goals. If you weren't aware of what happened earlier, there were 2 late withdrawals for Collingwood, Brodie Grundy and also Dane Swan. So Josh Thomas and Paul Seedsman came into the team, and 2 early subs. Nick Maxwell with a calf injury, a right calf injury, and Maverick Weller at the opening bounce was concussed in an incident involving Steele Sidebottom that will be looked at on Monday.
So the side-bottom elbow is, if we take it that it's reportable, let's see how you could make the case the other way, is the force is the interesting part here. Is the match review panel has, I think, been quite bewildering in recent weeks, but they gave Chris Dawes medium for a forearm, a fist to the head, which left Alex Rance down and off briefly to receive treatment. Is on that scale, is Sidebottom's going to have to be high. He's knocked the player out of the game. And I also think it won't be striking, will it? It'll be rough conduct.
It has to be rough conduct.
Which typically it would be rough conduct. Do you think it could come back as striking?
No, because he was trying to bump.
I don't think he was trying to bump. I think he... I don't think he was. I think he clipped him with the elbow, which is the only reason I think, yeah.
But he jumped up in the air, initially tucked his arm into bump, and then in trying to make contact, your reflex action is your arm goes out, and that's where the contact was made. So it's not a striking motion, even though it was a strike.
You actually thought he led. I thought the action had him with the elbow tucked in. He just happened to hit with the elbow rather than the elbow leading.
So high off the ground.
Well, he was. He did.
The elbow got him in the head.
Yep.
And that's where it's reckless.
And that is reckless, in my opinion.
It's clearly reckless.
And on the basis of what you've claimed in terms of the damage done, the bloke loses the game and probably another week on the basis of that. He has to be, I would have thought, penalised.
And if it is rough conduct, reckless and high, that is a big number of
4
weeks.
down to 3 with an early play.
And one thing you can't argue with is the fact that he went off and he hasn't come back on again. To be honest, it looked more of a glancing blow than a throw the head back. He's cleaned him up. But obviously it was hard enough for this player not to take no further part in the game. And a medical doctor riding cannot soften that. You can't soften that. You've got to say he was concussed to the point where he could not take no further part.
Well, he got the wobbles and fell over a few times trying to gather himself, and it was a bizarre start to the match. There's no doubt about that.
Well, and unlike the Ablett incident last week, the opponent, the person on the receiving end, is not likely to write him a letter of goodwill.
No, there'll be no need for that. It's well and truly captured.
It won't happen.
So, quite unusual.
Yeah, it is. It was,
especially for someone like Steele Sidebottom. He's not that sort of player at all.
No, a good record. Wouldn't he? He'd have an excellent record.
I don't think he would have even at juniors gone to a try being in a situation.
It's a tricky thing. You start the game on the wing, and your role is to run in and see if you can make an impact. It's what goes through your mind. You stand on the wing, don't you, David? At the start of every single game, the ball bounces, you run in, you go, I need to make an impact at this contest. He ran in thinking, I need to make an impact at this contest. I've jumped, which he shouldn't have done. That was his first mistake. He jumped in the air and then thought, I still need to make an impact, and he's going to pay for it.
Can I just to remind you, I never got that close to the centre bouncers. I was the bloke who watched from the back pocket. I saw all that happen, but I can't say I participated in it. But one of the things I'd be a bit concerned about, I know they've lost Swan before the game. I think Grundy has a real capacity to play the game despite him being young. I think he's a real potential. The efforts, and they've both been written up in the week for the inputs in the last game, which we thought they were absolute too, was Goldsack and Tuvey. They were rightfully so given plaudits on the back of their inputs in the previous game. Both have failed to impact on this game at all.
Yeah, well, Tuvey just the 4 possessions and Goldsack just the 5.
Yeah, well, there you are.
And the other one probably worth mentioning is Nick Maxwell. I think a calf injury.
Yeah,
that could be nasty.
Yep, old man's injury.
Here we go. Second half action underway here at Dockland Stadium. As Longer probably won the tap down for St Kilda up against Wits, but it doesn't really get outside the centre circles the ball, and we'll have a secondary throw-up situation.
Longer's athleticism to get up like that is terrific. Just doesn't have any body at all. No physicality at all.
He's been pretty good tonight.
Yep.
Wits wins it down this time, though, to McCaffer, who's tackled by Stephen and Hayes, and we'll have a third stoppage situation. Collingwood 10-5-65, St Kilda 6-2-38. As the umpire throws it up again, Hayes, third man up, wins it down, but again, it's not going to break the congestion, and the umpire will call for it again, still inside the centre circle. See how you go, Jared.
The Stephen McCaffer contest. Line ball.
Line ball at the minute.
Third man up. The Saints committed Ray to it, and he cleared the area, knocked it out wide. News was just beaten to it by Sidebottom, who towed it out toward the boundary. Stephen has stayed in the contest and gathered it against the boundary. He's under pressure from Sidebottom and McCaffer, and the numbers win out. Although a good little smother in there by Montagna keeps it going St Kilda's way. He kicked inside the 50. Lumumba got hold of it for the Pies. Gave it off to Williams. Shrugged his way clear and kicked well to half back for Young. He's got Goldsack as the short option and Fasolo as the long. He set it in the long Fasolo direction. It didn't really come off though. Shenton kicks for Malera. Young gets over the top to effect the spoil and see it out of play.
I was just waiting for you to say in the longer direction.
Yes. they made the wrong choice there.
Young thought he could kick at 80 metres. He can only kick at 70. Thrown in. This time Wits in the front wins it. Pendlebury stripped of the football. Goes back into the congestion. Wits has it, spills out. Thomas for Collingwood. Bit of a sloppy handball. But there is a free kick and it's going Collingwood's way. For a push in the back situation, Beams to take the free kick. Between wing and half back. Goes very short to Thomas, who gets his arms chopped. So, a bit of a sloppy start to the second half. Josh Thomas with the football. He goes backwards to Young, who evades Revolt, and away he goes with 2 bounces. Young runs to the wing, kicks long inside the 50. White's in front, goes over his head at the back. Elliott, he's a sharpshooter, and he's kicking another one. Now, it's only his first for the night, but it's his 20th for the season. And when the ball is in his hands inside 50, you just expect it to go through for a goal. And Collingwood get the first of the second half. Their lead is 33 points.
Too easy. Young Brody Murdoch, isn't it? Young Brody Murdoch just didn't come with him. The initiation of the move was made like 2 seconds before he even thought he should run. The 15-metre gap
allowed the bloke to take it, turn and kick it without him even getting to the contest. That was just a very badly read ball.
And that's the type of goal that the Saints aren't creating for themselves. That small player running into space, doing what small players should do, is Jamie Elliott, a perfect little small man's goal.
Collingwood by 33. There's a free kick. We need someone to point.
He's pointing, but no one believes him.
It's a Collingwood free kick. At centre half forward, a St Kilda player evidently pushed a Collingwood player up into the square. Witts to take it, kicks to full forward, Cloak's on the lead. Delaney comes with him, makes the spoil. Underfoot it comes for Solo, runs onto it. He's looking to give it off. There was no one to give it off to initially. He floats a hand pass to Beams, off to Blair. He hand passed it round at his ankles, couldn't get hold of it. Lumumba couldn't get through. And that is where it breaks down. Lumumba
still sitting on him. Goodness me.
Is going holding the ball.
Unfortunately, Delaney, who laid that wonderful tackle, may not be able to kick it. He's hobbling rather severely on what looks like a crook ankle.
He is. So Delaney looks to give off the hand pass and then see what sort of shape he's in. Shenton gets hold of it and he works it out for Nunes. He's near enough to fullback. He's going to switch play. It's a little dangerous. Lumumba makes it very dangerous. He makes the spoil on Ray. Gathers. Ray confronts Lumumba. Hand pass comes the way of Blair. Outside the 50 for Young. He's thinking goal. He tees it up. He lashes it long. And he's put it across the face for a behind. They're up by 34. He's a little bit single-minded, Young, isn't he?
I was going to say, he's really got his confidence up with his kicking. He's trying to do some rather ambitious kicks. Shenton kicks to himself from the square, puts himself under pressure and kicks to a contest. Ray pushes Lumumba out. No free kick. And Ray comes up with a football. So very lucky there. Handballs to Montagna. He kicks down the line. And the mark's been taken by Stanley. He goes into Revolt, who marks between wing and half forward right. Looks up. Now, this is the important kick. Oh, Malera's got out here. He'll mark in the pocket. 45 metres around from the goal. He chips short. Schneider there. Williams with the spoil. One too many kicks there. Williams did very well. Mopped up. Got the handball to Thomas and got it back again and chips it over the top to Keith. Well played, Marley Williams.
Keith has got Young running through the middle. Longa's got to get there to try to make the spoil. He can't. So Young's got it again. He brings it out the broadcast side, or Pendlebury will take this on the bounce. There's no one between him and the 50. He sets the kick inside rather than running all the way himself. It didn't quite come off. For Solo couldn't take it on the full. The pack descends. And it will be balled up. Delaney has left the field.
I was just about to commend the Saints on a great passage of play. 3 good leads, 3 good kicks, and then 1 too many.
Thrown up. White wins it down. Collingwood there with Pendlebury. Farms out a handball to Elliott from the 50. It's a standing start situation. Kicks to full forward. Cloak's there. Wrestling. Free kick. Free kick to Cloak. It's going against Stanley, who's had to go back to play on Cloak with Delaney coming from the ground. And according to the umpire, Stanley was holding.
I think at some stage they both had a bit of each. Yeah, others jumping in, so a little bit stiff, but inexperienced. Delaney off. Stanley had to go back and stand on Cloak.
He's only 10 metres out, Cloak, but he's tucked away in the pocket and he threads it with a set shot. And he's got 2, Travis Cloak. 2 goals, 2, and a bit of a wry smile as well as his teammates come in to celebrate. Collingwood, it's a game-high 40-point lead. The Magpies 12-6-78. St Kilda 6-2-38. Blakey, what's your feeling down there with Luke Delaney?
I think he's in trouble, White. He's got a left hip injury. If you remember, he was subbed out of the game against Gold Coast before the bye with a hip injury, so he was in doubt coming into the game, and they may have made an error there because he is struggling.
Not the sort of thing that you put locals into, is it? Locally, no, I don't think I can remember having a local into a hip injury.
So 40 points Collingwood's way, out of the middle. Pendlebury has a play at it. He's down by Nunes. Ross disputes it with him. The ball disappears in the skirmish. And the umpire to ball it up.
Was it a hip injury Mickey McGuan got a needle in?
No.
Could feel his leg.
Groin, wasn't it? Groin.
Whitson longer. You give that one to Longer, but Beams came up with it regardless. Kicks Collingwood to half forward where Elliott marks in the lead. Gives it off for Blair. Kick to full forward. Cloaks his target. Bruce is wearing him very close. Lucky to get away with that one. And Stanley runs it out of play in the pocket. We were blowing the last one up. That looks twice as severe.
I reckon he piggybacked in the whole way.
Yeah. Right forward pocket for Collingwood. Whitson Longer wrestled each other out of it. Malera at the back. He's run straight into Witts. He's been dispossessed. Elliott tried to barge his way through. He got held up. He balled up.
Witts almost ate a St Kilda play there.
Malera. Pendlebury goes third man up. He knocked it to Witts, who gave it back to Pendlebury. Now for Beams, but he's on the ground by the time he got it. McCaffrey's kick is smothered and it ricochets the way of Hayes. Off to Malera. Revolt is working at the defensive 50. He slips the hand pass away, and Dunstan's kick out to the wing is a poor. It was Murdoch's kick is a poor one, and Keith cuts it off.
So Keith wants to transfer play from the dock side to the city side. This will work okay. Young marks and will distribute a handball on the bounce to side bottom. He'll kick to Seedsman. That was a sloppy kick. Shenton read it well for St Kilda and intercepted. Took it and took two bounces. Inboard handball to Revolt, who fumbles it. It was a little bit behind him, so Shenton comes and gets it again. Runs away, kicks inside the 50. Hayes in the pocket, dives in and marks on his chest.
He's had a good game tonight, Cam Shenton.
He centred it up, Hayes to Schneider, and Schneider will centre it up as well to Dunstan. The ball hangs in the air a while, but the Collingwood defence weren't awake up to it, and Dunstan's marked 30 out straight in front.
I was going to make the point because Shenton's defended extremely well, but the very thing you talked about, he has taken the risk when it was time to take the risk and has aggressively become offensive too.
He was taken in the 2012 rookie draft. He was overlooked in the main draft. He's played his craft down at Sandringham for the last two seasons, and it's just really a win for perseverance.
Great.
So Dunstan taking a long time here. He starts his approach now and he kicks it straight through the middle for a goal. St Kilda's first goal of the second half. The Saints 7-2-44. 34 points down on Collingwood, 12-6-78. We've crossed 10 minutes in quarter number 3.
It was an important goal that for the Saints because if Collingwood got another couple, it started to look ugly again. At the moment, it doesn't look pretty, but it was on the borderline of looking really ugly. And for it to come on the back of a Cam Shenton, he almost mucked the handball up, but he got it back and he had enough confidence to take the player on, to back his speed. And look, he's not known for his kicking, but he hit Lenny Hayes on the chest. Lenny's not known for his leading, but he did it extremely well. And in the end, Saints come up with a goal.
They all played against type.
Yep.
And it's Collingwood by 34 points. In the middle, Jesse White won the tap, but Curran was waiting for it. High to half forward. Billings jumps up over the top.
Back another shot.
Spring-heeled Jack Billings.
And he is a good kick.
I was just looking at his stats while the previous kick was happening, thinking he hasn't been in the play. This is disposal number 5.
Yes, he's neat when he's with the ball, but he just doesn't have the body to mix it with these guys at this stage.
18-year-old Jack Billings from true centre half forward from 52 out. He's left that so far left that it hasn't even scored.
And that was because he was beyond really his thinking distance and he was trying to make up for the distance.
So not that time.
Frost kicks it into the defensive goal square, then to Young. The kick was a little iffy, but it's come out okay to Thomas. Oh, he played on, holding the ball. No, play on. See, he's definitely holding the ball there. Side bottom now for Collingwood. His kick misses the targeting Pendlebury. St Kilda with the numbers on the city side. Curran gets the handball to Jones. He's going backwards. Handballs to Stanley. Jones goes all the way back to full back, but they've still got the footy. Dempster has it now. He kicks out wide to Josh Bruce, and they effect the switch effectively.
It was great from Jones. He gave away 80 metres, and then when they took the mark, he pointed forward. You're the one who sent him all the way back.
Montagna has it now. Goes back to the city side to Stanley. And they've worked the width here well because Curran has it forward of the wing, back on the city side. The next kick's the important one, and Hayes coming out like Jason Dunstall, full forward, taking the mark at right half forward on the lead.
I like this forward business.
Hayes, centering ball, he wants Sipos. Oh, good spoil from Frost. At the drop, Dunstan shrugs the tackle and loses it. And the umpire comes in and calls for it. 40 out from St Kilda's goal.
The Saints have had enough of Penderbury getting the ball 16 in the first half, and they've put Tommy Curran to him.
Yeah. Collingwood by 34, St Kilda in attack. Stephen and McCaffrey are holding each other away from it all. Jones got hit in the head, and that has to be a free kick. It was Taylor Adams.
Let's hope they
it was Josh Thomas, in fact. Just came from the side and hit him in the head. Kick up to full forward. Revolt's going to have plenty to jump against. The spoils are made. Young got caught at the drop. He threw it away to Frost, who got taken high. And then goes in a little bit of afters and drags down Terry Malera. It's Frost's free kick, and Revolt comes in to remonstrate.
Wasn't sure why the first one wasn't holding the ball. He got around one player, then got caught in the second one.
Yep.
Young has it now and goes short to Keefe, who spreads it wide. A side bottom. Over the top to Adams, who squeezes a kick to McCaffrey, who couldn't mark with the one hand. Lumumba's handball was knocked down. Collingwood just getting a little lazy here. They've coughed it up. Hayes has it now. 60 out. Goes to Revolt, who marks on his chest. Collingwood deserved that. They were just cruising around half back, and St Kilda's pressure came, and it resulted in a turnover, and now Revolt with a shot at goal.
And what we'd wanted to see, it certainly they did play around, but the recall was absolutely right, Adam. But the pressure did, in the finish, cause the turnover, and you hope they scored this, because one of the few that they've scored as a rebound back inside their 50.
So Revolt has 3 goals straight. This kick from 45 out, he's not kicked it well. He's missed to the right. It's the first time we've seen him kick it badly at goal for some weeks. So Collingwood's lead, 33 points, and Kilda with the last 2 behind. So they've had a chance to get it under 5 goals, and they've been unable to do it.
And Billings out on the full in there, so they've squandered of 3 chances. The kick is a long one on the way out. Lumumba was the target. Nunes chopped the arms, got away with it. The Saints should be able to affect the turnover. Montagna, Ross up to half forward. Jumping down it was Hayes. Scrapping for it at ground level is Nunes. He's dispossessed by Lumumba. And Collingwood will win out momentarily at least. Beams worked it around to Langdon. Good evasive skills to get it back to Beams. Through full back now for Keefe, who's got a runner on in the pocket inside bottom. And he dinks the kick rather deftly outside the defensive 50 for Young. It's called as not 15, but there was no urgency to attack him. He lays it off to Langdon, who kicks to centre half back for White. White all the way across the field for Seedsman. Lumumba wants it up at the logo on the broadcast wing. He'll get it and go. Runs his measure. Delivers up in the cloak direction. Dempster across the front. Cloak hangs on. With Delaney not moving the way he was earlier on.
I think with Delaney, they'll give him an extra 5-10 minutes and see how he goes. But certainly there wasn't a lot of leap in that spoil.
Lumumba, how are you classing? Pretty good tonight? Pretty good?
Yeah, he's been okay. Okay.
Travis Cloak from long range, looking for his third. He thumps it at goal. That's more like it.
That is a good goal.
And a flourish in the celebration as well, as Travis Cloak is emerging from his slumber. And his teammates are right there to share it with him. 13-6-84 the Pies to St Kilda 7-3-45.
We were right behind that, and it went with a natural left footer's hook for a start. Then he got off the wicket, he got a bit of outswing or a bit of seam off the end. It just faded back to the left to go through. But you can see he was riding it all the way, and the joy of that accomplishment was easy to see.
Shows forwards talk about it's about forward line pressure and creating a good structure. It's not about goals. You can tell with Travis the way he kicked that one. It's all about goals. As it should be. He's been down in form and he's played well tonight. Dunstan with the clearance for St Kilda though. Kicks towards left half forward. The ball bounces away from 2 sets of players. Williams first there for the Magpies. Lovely no-look handball to Keefe, who goes short to Blair, who marks defensive wing.
Adam Schneider is a really important, smart player for the Saints.
Blair's just kicked it straight to Malera, like he was wearing a Collingwood jumper. Malera handballs to Dunstan, to Jones, back to Dunstan. Collingwood, good pressure. They've knocked it into the midfield where Cloak picks up. Handballs it to Beams, through the centre circles, goes wide on a searching lead, got there and then dropped the mark at the 50. Shenton crashed in, should have been a free kick to White for a push in the back. Umpire said play on, Montagna has it, handballs to Shenton.
Shenton will kick down the line for Malera. He just got the last one wrong. His hand pass this time is better for Dunstan. Delivers inside the 50. Revolt against Lumumba. Lumumba was favoured by the flight, made the spoil, and Williams was camped underneath. He feeds it with a lovely looking kick to McAfee. Kick to half forward. Cloaks his target. Montagna has to fly against him, and he did make the spoil. Cloak fights on, works the hand pass up to Beams, gives it over to Witts inside the 50 for Fasolo, who's marked it at the 50, and lead they might in all sorts of different directions. He is a Fasolo man. He's having a shot.
Adams is a slow learner. He's wasted about 3 lots of 50 leaves there. Wearing himself out for nothing.
He's been away from the sticks too long. Alex Fasolo looking to upgrade to a bag here for his 5th from 52. No, it hits the post. And there is no one more disappointed than Alex Fasolo.
It would have been an aeroplane or some sort of celebration had that gone through. St Kilda, they turned it over here at half back. No, they have got it back. With Nunes coming in to save the day at the last moment with Sidebottom looking like he was going to steal the footy. Now the Saints go through with Billings. He goes long inside the 50. Sipos is out here. He's got away from Lumumba. And Sipos is marked at 40 metres out, probably actually 30 metres out from goal, just right of centre.
Well, they were 2 terrific kicks. The kick to Billings, which waited just perfectly for him. He came back on his left. And one thing he has, brilliant foot skills, and he put it right into the parkway. Just go into that corner there, son, and I'll give it to you. Just a magnificent kick.
Well, this could be an 11-point turnaround for Sola hitting the post at one end. And can Sipos do the damage at the other end for St Kilda? And he comes. We know he's a nice kick usually. And he's kicked that very nicely indeed. So it is an 11-point turnaround. And Collingwood's lead is now 34 points. With Collingwood at 13-7-85. St Kilda at 8-3-51. We've just ticked into time on. 20 minutes played in quarter number 3.
Well, that will do his confidence the world of good, actually take a strong mark, and he's got the ability to actually burn off defenders because he's fairly quick for his size, and when he stretches his arms up, he's a big man, he's got a lovely boot, so he's got all the attributes to be a very good AFL footballer. He's only young, he hasn't played a lot of games yet, so they're persisting with him. He didn't play early in the year because they wanted his second efforts, and when the ball hit the ground, to be a lot better than what it is. He earned his spot in the team. Let's hope that he can keep that spot in the team because it will do the Saints the world of good.
Nathan Burke on Grandstand AFL. 34 points, Collingwood's lead. Hayes is scrapping for it in the middle. Beams trying to pull it from his grasp, and Pendlebury is laying the tackle. It's a stalemate.
If anybody has the AFL build and athleticism, he's got it.
Tossed up. Stanley having to be the makeshift ruckman at the moment. Montagna feeds it from the turf. Didn't really amount to anything. Ray is left over the footy. The umpire doesn't believe that he dragged it in though. So they'll rise and go back to their neutral corners and come out and do it again. Beams coming through the stoppage. Gathers, kicks deep to full forward. No mark for White. At the spillage, Cloak trying to get hold of it. He bats it clear for Goldsack. He's worried out of it by Jones. Goldsack turns tackler and the ball is trapped 30 out from the Collingwood goal.
Both teams look like they're starting with a loose man in defence, but actually they're sending one forward up into the play, and their defenders are staying back, which is causing a loose man by default.
Stanley clearly wins the tap. He knocked it goal side, which was risky. Ray's dispossessed by Goldsack, fanatical with his tackling. Pendlebury trying to get clear, held up by Schneider. He's had it for a long time. The umpire doesn't think that Pendlebury had terribly many chances to get rid of it.
So now it's only 15 out from Collingwood's goal. Virtually at the top of the square.
That's a great tackle.
Huge tackles applied there. Goldsack was one of them.
He went through very hard.
He did. I think he's been given a rocket.
Thrown up again, same spot. White trying to break the congestion. He does so, and Beams spins onto it. Left foot snap. It's close. I think Chelsea's going to give it a goal. She is. No review. She was confident. Collingwood's back out by 40 points. 14-7-91. St Kilda 8-3-51.
Well, when Chelsea does the Monday review, she'll get both of those goals. Perfect position for that one on the line. No camera or anybody would have been in perfect position was able to give it. I'd have to say, Chelsea, the previous one down the other end, you were not in good position.
Smart play by the Pies too. There was multiple ball ups about 20 metres out from goals, and the Saints had covered the goal side. So Jesse White just got up, banged the ball backwards away from goals, and Beams, if you're forward, you want to be where there's space. And so get the big fellas to hit it into space, and he capitalised.
40 points again, back in the middle. Ball spills out into a little bit of space. Williams gathers it for the Pies off half back and kicks to half forward. Blair couldn't take the mark. Elliott's working at ground level. He's dragged down by Shenton. Stanley coming through the pack, releases it to Nunes, who feeds it up now to Curran. Onto the right boot and in the revolt direction. He leans into his opponent, Tooby, but didn't take the mark. Tooby paddles it round and over the boundary.
Unlucky not to get a free kick there, I think, Nick Marie. Well, I think the spoil came over the shoulder and head as much as it got the ball.
Tooby had almost conceded the fact and wasn't penalised.
Left half forward for the Saints. Stanley, neat little tap, down to Stephen. Feeds it in the Montagna direction. Works it around with Curran. High ball inside the 50. Sidebottom came from a long way back to affect the spoil. It fell the way of Schneider, though. Billings has worked out of the pack. The tackle laid by Dunstan on Sidebottom. The pack forms. It's 30 out now from the St Kilda goal.
Nearly 25 played in the third.
Saints need something from Adam Schneider. He's a smart player around goals. He's only had the 6 possessions for the game. It's one of his poorer games.
Witts wins it down. And it's Billings that kicks it okay. Well, it was complete luck that it's landed in Dunstan's hands. But Billings just kicked it as he was tackled. It went backwards, it went diagonal, and it went into the hands of Dunstan, who's marked at the top of the 50.
I thought you made the call. Running at me, I thought it was Schneider. Yeah. I thought you made a brilliant call, but in fact was Billings. Knocked off balance and did the thing into space, and who was there?
Adam Schneider on the bench having a chat with the coach on the phone as we speak.
So Luke Dunstan kicked the goal from a similar spot in this turn. This one a little bit further out, and this one it gets away from him left, and it is only a behind. So Collingwood's lead is 39 points, nearly 26 played in the third term.
2-2 and 1 out of bounds in this term, the Saints. Kick in is a good one. Marked by Lumumba, who sends the Magpies out to the wing for Pendlebury. He goes trotting away, has a bounce. Beams is his target down the line. He too marks. There's 2 decent kicks out from goal. Not in any great hurry to get it off. He waited until something presented. He went for Sidebottom at centre half forward. Billings arrived to make the spoil. And Ray for the Saints is there at the drop. He runs away from Witts and has a bounce, kicks in the Malera direction. He used the body well on that occasion to get rid of Williams. Malera up inside the 50. Montagna's on the lead. That is a good transfer of play from the Saints.
Well, it was, because they allowed it out far too easy from the kick-in. I mean, have a zone defence, but plenty of time to close it up. They got it out easily. I thought it would have a scoring opportunity. Won it back with a poor kick. Poor Collingwood kick was intercepted, and now we've got a shot on goal. And another goal at this stage just start to make it a little bit interesting.
They need a goal to reward all the effort. Montagna, it's tough enough. It's from 48 on the angle. It gets away across the face and through for a behind. Margin is 38 points.
Well, let's slip a couple of chances to get themselves back into the game. That was a tougher third shot, but the Dunstan one from 40 out dead in front, you need to nail those.
Seedsman short to Witts, who handballs back to Seedsman, who initially fumbled it, then hammers it long towards Pendlebury, gets pushed out of the contest, but it's a mark to Nunes. So Nunes will go short to Curran. Curran out at left half forward, chips back towards the 50. Spell came late from McCaffer against Ross. The ball comes back to Curran, then he's dispossessed. Stephen there overruns it, then gets knocked into by his own teammate in Ray. They fall on the football, and the umpire will call for a throw-up.
Stephen's acceleration is quite unbelievable, isn't it? He's not an up on a toe back, he's sort of a flat footer, but he really goes.
Tossed up, Witts down to Pendlebury, off to McCaffer. Out of the pack now for Thomas, kicking the cloak direction. He leans down and marks 65 from goal. He might have worn one high there, and he's a bit hunched over and slow as he gets up. Cloak delivers inside the 50. He's done that very well. He had to pinpoint the pass, and Taylor Adams up on the lead to mark.
Taylor Adams is starting to become a fairly competent player. Is he one from GWS? Is he the one that came down, Taylor Adams? As a young bloke, high draft pick, everybody says he can play. He's got a good body for his size, good overhead, as he showed then on the lead.
So after the three-quarter time siren, Taylor Adams to take a set shot. He'll walk across the digits of 50, painted to the right, and let fly from 45. It's at the right-hand post. It will stay the wrong side of it, and a behind to finish the term. Collingwood at the final change, leading by 39 points. 14 goals, 8.92 to St Kilda, 8.553. 4 goals to 2 in that term the Magpies' way, as they edged it out from 27 to 39. The goal kickers, 3 for Cloak, 4 for Fasolo, 3 for Cloak, 2 for White and Thomas, with singles to Blair, Beams and Elliott. For St Kilda, 3 for Revolts, the rest are singles. Sipos, Stephen, Ray, Malera and Dunstan. Three-quarter time, it's Collingwood by 39 points. This is Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio, News Radio and Grandstand Digital.
Double J. One more time. The ABC's new music radio station is ready for your ears. Weekdays, join Mick Warhurst, playing you the music you've loved and the music we reckon you're going to love. Double J. On your mobile via the ABC radio app, online at doublej.net.au, or look for Double J on your digital radio or TV.
Friday night footy.
Grandstand AFL. Young runs to the wing, kicks long inside the 50. White's in front, goes over his head at the back. Elliott, he's a sharp shooter, and he's kicking another one. Now, it's only his first for the night, but it's his 20th for the season. Elliott from the 50. It's a standing start situation. Kicks to full forward, close there, wrestling. Free kick. Free kick to Cloak. He's only 10 metres out, Cloak, but he's tucked away in the pocket and he greets it with a set shot.
Runs his measure, delivers up in the Cloak direction. Dempster across the front, Cloak hangs on. Travis Cloak from long range, looking for his third. He thumps at a goal. That's more like it.
That is a good goal.
And a flourish in the celebration as well, as Travis Cloak is emerging from his slumber.
Thrown up again, same spot. White trying to break the congestion. He does so, and Beams spins onto it. Left foot snap. It's close. I think Chelsea's going to give it a goal. She is. No review. She was confident. Collingwood's back out by 40 points.
Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Local Radio, online and on ABC Grandstand Digital.
Collingwood by 39 points at the final change. Those lingering scores we had for you. Final scores now in the Super Rugby. The Reds 38 beat the Highlanders 31. In the NRL, Penrith 38 beat Parramatta 12. And Sam Stozer into the fourth round of the French Open, where she will play in all likelihood Maria Sharapova should she be successful later tonight. Nathan Burke and David Parker.
Well, I'm not sure what teams are going to be interested in the last quarter, because you come into a game like this, the expectation is that Collingwood will take the 4 points, and I think that expectation is going to be matched with performance. But I'm not sure it's a performance collectively that Collingwood are going to be jumping around about. And other than, you know, one of their young blokes, young Thomas, who's, well, I don't know how many games Thomas has played, but probably not too many. I'm trying to look here quickly. He's played 23 games, so there's one that stuck his hand up a bit tonight and played well. But in St Kilda, they've hung in pretty well, played some half-reasonable football. But what they're getting, and we're seeing, and you nominated them before the games, Nunes can play, no doubt about it. And I think you're right, you'll go from half back into the midfield. Shenton's been a fantastic, and from my opinion, been one of the better players on the ground, let alone for St Kilda. Dunstan looks like he can do the word. Ross with a bit of body to him because he can play and he's got good skills. He's put his hand up. Curran has played, particularly now he's doing the job on Pendlebury, and Curran showed that he can apply himself. Murdoch and even Malera, who I've worried about because he just hasn't been consistent enough. I don't think he does work hard enough, particularly when he doesn't have the ball. There's a bit individually at least is saying that, well, your better players are amongst the kids who are still learning the game. That has to be a plus in terms of what comes out of this game, which may not be the 4 points.
Absolutely. And for the Collingwood side of things, I think Whitey mentioned before the game that Collingwood, for the position they are on the ladder, their percentage is extremely poor. There's a lot of sides around them with a far better percentage than what Collingwood have got. So they'll be thinking this last quarter, okay, we've got ourselves a good lead. If we're going to get that percentage up wide, like you mentioned before the game, they're going to have to really power on. And I'd be putting the hard word on Travis Cloke. I'll be saying, the guy you're playing on is playing on one leg. He can't run, he can't jump. Let's go through Travis as much as we possibly can, get some confidence into him, and actually get some score on the board, because if they're ever going to do it, now's the time, because if Delaney has to go off, Reece Stanley's the next best option, and we haven't seen him play well as that deep defender at all. So now's the time for Collingwood. If they're serious and they want percentage and they want to win big, they've got to do it now.
But it's a bit of a coaching type of psychology from Nathan Buckley, I would imagine, Parko. Collingwood's not going to lose the game. They're not playing well. Nathan's got to try and find a way of sharpening them up here, because they've sort of just been cruising through all night.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about two classics, and I love them. Don't get me wrong, I'm not persecuting them. At half-time, Goldsack had 5 contributions, and Tuvey had 4. And I read now, because I can't remember, so I better check those 2 out again. They got a bit of a rocket. 5 and 4 still. Did not make any impact on the game. And they're 2 that, A, were wrapped because, and they were rightfully wrapped because of their consistency and superb performances against better individual opponents. Done the job one week and don't come up with a good the next week. I mean, that from a coaching point of view bugs you more than anything else.
And I hope the Saints don't rue that first quarter again, because they were 13 inside 50s down at quarter time. It's now 3-quarter time, and they're still 13 inside 50s down. So they've matched them the second and third quarters. It's that first quarter again that's probably going to come back and bite them.
So about to commence the final term with Collingwood by 39 points. St Kilda finishing off to the Coventry end, to the right as we look at it. Collingwood to the Lockett end. 8 names in the history of these two clubs. Up goes Longer and he wins the tap. Dunstan got dragged down off the footy, but I'm not sure that he ever had it. That's how the umpire sees it. Dunstan spreads it out to the left. Murdoch dinks it forward of the play. Hayes takes possession, veers inboard, good evasive skills. He kicks for Reebok, a fraction too high. The skipper just couldn't quite hang on. It comes underfoot. Dunstan is there doing all the heavy lifting again. He's over the footy. It'll be balled up.
Lenny and Nick are fantastic mates, but it might be tested a little bit tonight. Nick's got free a few times and Lenny hasn't looked after him at all.
Longer brings it down underfoot. Beams is there for the Pies. Off to Pendlebury. Feeds it forward to the play for Young. From half back up near half forward. Cloak has been held by Delaney. The umpires just let that go by. Fair enough. We're watching a different game. Shenton, that's no good. The hand pass, he had a long time to think about it, perhaps too long. Blair takes possession. He's lying on the footy. He does release it. And it's an ugly pack that forms. It'll be tossed up near half forward for Collingwood.
That was the footy gods at work when Shenton knew he had a free kick, so he hand passed it back to Collingwood.
Clinton Jones did well there, and he tackled the Collingwood player. If the ball had spilt, there was 3 of them there to scoot it away, but he held it in really well.
Witts wins it down, but it's taken by Nunes for St Kilda. Handball's out of the congestion to Hayes. Has a look at his options and goes down towards Revolt again. Got knocked away from him. Longer with the crumbs. Handballs it straight though to Pendlebury of Collingwood.
He handballs it out wide. Now it's Josh Thomas who kicks to Cloak, who juggles and marks. Wheels onto his left. He's 70 out from goal. He goes long. And it's pretty easy for St Kilda's defence there to just knock it through for a rush behind. Dempster did that. And that's the problem with Cloak. When he pushes out, there's no one necessarily behind.
And he should have taken that cleanly in his hand. And you called it. He bungled it round in his hand. Should have gone clunk.
Nunes marks the kick in. He didn't cover much territory, though. So he's still got to find a target out at half-back. He's gone for Stephen. And it's a careful enough kick. Stephen wants a little bit of run. He loops the hand pass up over the top to Bruce, who dinks it onto the left boot, puts it up in the direction of Stanley. It bounced before it reached him. He tried to knock it down to Billings. He overstruck that. Stephen against the boundary. Can't find the way past. It's jarred out of his hands and out of play.
So right in front of the St Kilda bench as this ball is thrown back into play. Witts gets wrestled to the ground by Longer in the contest. No free kick, but Dunstan gets a free kick for being taken too high in the tackle.
It's a bit lucky there.
Dunstan goes long towards centre-half forward. Hayes is there. Beams with the spoil. Beams then with the crumbs. Handballs defensively to Lumumba, who handballs out wide to Fasolo. Back at right half-back at the moment. Spreads the kick in the Lumumba direction, who kept running. He's got 2 to beat and he can't do so. And it comes back to Malera. He kicks the revolt. He's also got 2 on him. Keith sort of edged him out of the contest. Langdon was there and did well. Gets the handball to Keith. He'll spread it to the left back pocket to Young, and Collingwood are lining up on the wing.
Yes, it's just a matter of where the checkers go. The kick goes to Witts, who gives it back to Young. His next target is Seedsman, and he's weighted it perfectly. He marks. He'll flick it inboard. Elliott trying to spin his way out of trouble. Back to Seedsman. Good evasion. Kicks into the pocket for Cloak. He takes the mark in the pocket. It's just a matter of which manner they were going to use to get it all the way down the field. But the way it was set up, it seemed inevitable that this would be the result.
Well, he only double-handed that mark, not triple-handed like the previous one. He's getting better. Definitely getting better, Collingwood people.
So deep in the pockets. Cloak has kicked 3 goals, 2. Very deliberate in his approach.
Oh.
High with the kick. Handsome indeed. Waves the hands in the air as it goes through. He is enjoying the return to goal kicking form.
Hallelujah.
4 for Travis Cloak. And Collingwood by 46 points.
Nick Rewalt, it's a wonder he's got 3 goals up the other end, because the actual delivery to him tonight has been atrocious. Lenny Hayes missed one, and Terry Malera, who's generally not a bad kick inside 50, missed him as well. And the ball went from one side of the ground all the way to the other pocket, and instead of Nick Rewalt having a shot for goal, Travis Cloak gets a shot for goal.
Parko's right. He has got the fade happening at the moment if he's kicking. In the middle we go again. And Longer winning the tap down. But no one able to initially break clear. Beams has it now. He's tackled to ground by Schneider and will be thrown up again. So coming into the game, Travis Cloak had kicked 10 goals, 16. So he's now up to 14 goals, 18. Witts wins the tap. There's a free kick. It's going Collingwood's way. And it will go to Witts. He's been involved in sumo wrestling all night, and that time he just got a little hand on him and he got a free kick. Witts kicks up. Oh, good mark. That's Parko's man, Goldsack, who marks at the top of the 50. That was a real stretch.
But it was the turn, wasn't it? It was coming like a bullet, head high, and he went in at it. He was coming at the ball and grabbed it. That's probably as difficult a mark as you can take.
Now, Goldsack hasn't had a kick for the night. He's had 5 handballs. So he might be a little rusty. From the top of the 50, he is rusty. That's way out to the right and won't even score. It's out of bounds on the full. It's like rushing from the car park to the first tee without a practice swing.
Oh, dear me.
Ties by 46. Dempster's on the kick in. Committed the long ball beyond the defensive 50. Collingwood have 3 in the air against Longer, who obviously didn't hang on. Young dinks it back inside the 50, but Schneider was awake to that. And he takes the mark, goes meandering across the face of goal. His kick got to be good for Delaney, and it is. Delaney didn't hesitate. He gave the hand pass to Nunes. Back to Delaney. He works it around now with Shenton. Nunes in it again as they work it down the line into the hands of Billings. He kicks up to Revolt. Fraction too high for him again, and Frost makes good work of it. Knocks it down, and Williams is scouting through. He'll kick across the centre square, and this should work perfectly. Young runs up at it, takes the mark, delivers inside 50. Out in front of Cloak. It'll bounce a couple of times before it reaches him. He hand passes it away to Elliott. From 45, he's had a swing at goal. He knows where they are, Jamie Elliott. His second. He's been subdued tonight, but he does find a way to impact. 16-9-105 Collingwood to 8-5-53 St Kilda.
Well, you and I both read very well, led for the ball, and about the 19th one went just above his head.
Yep.
He did say a word that we can't say on ABC radio and walked off the ground. He just walked off the ground. I've had enough of this, he said.
If Richo, what they normally do after the game is they look at the opposition's goals and say, where did they come from? Where did they get the ball back, and where were they created? Most of them will come from balls kicked over Nick Riewoldt head.
Jesse White wins the tap from the middle, and Beam sharks it. He kicks back towards centre half forward. Dropping the mark there was Ross. It comes out to Fasolo. Handballs over the top to Cloak. He handballs deep into the pocket. Sidestepping was Elliott. Elliott from the impossible. Oh, he's hit the post. Tell you what, he's had mark of the year last year. That would have gone close to goal of the year. The way he was able to dart away from Jones and go with the outside of the boot from deep in the pocket.
Shenton marks the kick in, gives it off to Hayes. Around now to Billings, who'll kick it up for halfway. It lands in front of Stanley. It half-volleyed him. Beams gathers for the Pies. Hand pass to Keith. He takes the high tackle from Stanley. Works it up, playing the advantage to White. White will kick it to the 50. Out in front was Fasolo. Good spoil put on by Dempster. At the drop, Murdoch gives it away to Shenton. Off to Hayes and back to Dempster. He sweeps it out to the side for Ray, but he's confronted and forced backwards. Gives it to Hayes. Malera bobs up in the middle of the ground. He marks and plays on, tucks it under the arm, runs his full measure, pauses, bounces, then gives it off, and Billings from 50, he hits it right. So not quite. They're down by 52.
Lumumba kicks it back into play, just short to Keith. Well, handball to Pendlebury, cruising past. He darts it to White, and then White handballs back to Pendlebury, to Thomas. They're inside the centre square. Thomas coughed it up, then gave away a free kick. So he handballed it straight to Billings, and then Billings didn't take possession, but Thomas took him. So Billings goes to Bruce. Bruce inside the centre square. Poor kick to centre half forward. Schneider had three players around him as it bounced into his area, and he's tackled. The umpire will look and throw it up. Unfortunately, it is only, Jared, the 10-minute mark of the last term. There'll be a bit more of this to come.
Oh, the game has disintegrated.
Disintegrated, that's right.
Collingwood by 52. Knocked down to Ray, who fires at the goal. It's out to the right, and it bounces out of play. Martin Blake.
So Kilda put Josh Bruce crossover onto Travis Cloak after he kicked that fourth goal. Delaney with that sore hip just couldn't run with him at all.
Thrown in the right forward pocket for the Saints. Thomas is onto it for the Pies. Gives it off to Langdon. Kicks into the middle for Elliott. He lays it off to Lumumba. Can't quite get clear on this occasion. He's got targets in the middle. Jesse White. Taylor Adams gets forward of him to receive the hand pass. He motors on and kicks it for Beams, but he missed the target. Jones will gather for St Kilda. Hand pass to Sipos, running out of half-back. Out to the side now. Dempster. Short for Hayes. Curran's out on the broadcast wing. And coming from the bench now is Dunstan, so he'd be the logical target over the top. He'll take it forward to the middle. Stanley wants it in short at half-forward. Dunstan's going to go a little deeper than that. He's put it in the Schneider direction, but coming across the front of the pack was Young to make the spoil and get it out of bounds.
I think our man Lindsay Gilby might be doing a little bit of extra kicking work during the week, Parko and Berkey.
Yes, absolutely.
Prides himself on his kicking.
Thrown in. Pendlebury collects, he's dispossessed, side bottom, spirals the ball out of the congestion, low down, marking on his chest is Travis Cloak. So Cloak, that's 11 marks now and 20 disposals. He goes short to Blair. Those who were patient and kept him in the dream team, you're going okay. Blair's kick, though, not good. Over McCaffrey's head. Coming through Shenton for the Saints. He kicks back towards centre half forward, but Keefe steals it off Montagna. Put up the one hand and it's stuck.
Keefe kicks it into the middle for McCaffer. Onto the right boot. Bad looking kick. Beams came out hard to take the mark. Front of the centre square. A wide target sagging out to the right in Seedsman. And he'll pop it inside the 50 to the lead of Elliott, who's been busy in this final term. He won't take the shot. Instead, he'll go for Fasolo. Kicked it up over his head, so he didn't mark. Getting through was Blair. He wasted it. So they managed to blunder that around the Pies. It's out of play to be thrown in next to the behind post.
I don't know why Elliott was passing. He's such a beautiful kick. He'd just take the shot. Thrown in, deep in the right forward pocket. No one got there. Pendlebury picks up. Gets a handball to Beams. Now to Lumumba, who fumbles it. It falls to ground. He's still fighting after it, Lumumba. His handball missed the target, so he goes and chases his own ball. He's taking on 6 of them at once, Lumumba. They ended up just through numbers, St Kilda overwhelming Collingwood. And it was Hayes that got the handball out. And the kick goes up towards the wing. Coming through for the Saints. But now that breaks down again and Collingwood has the football with Keefe. And Keefe kicks short to Tuvey, who marks on the defensive wing. He chips into the centre. Everyone has just pretty much stopped to a walk. Williams goes short to Seedsman, just forward of the centre. But you just have a look at the St Kilda players. They are so tired. They're really struggling to cover the ground. Williams spreads it wide now from the centre circles to Young, who marks on the AFL logo. Plays on, takes a bounce, kicks inside the 50. Elliott up, can't mark, but his arms were chopped. He'll take the free kick. Dempster came late. He was a little sloppy with the spoil. And Elliott, I wonder whether he'll... it's 50.
Silly.
I wonder whether Elliott will pass it off.
Jack Billings handed the ball back to the Collingwood player next to him to throw back rather than giving it back to the player whose free kick it was. That's a bad one. It's what you call a rookie mistake.
Yes.
So Jamie Elliott is marched to the goal line. And as Jared said, he has been pretty quiet. But he's going to have 3 goals to his name. He's taking his time. He's just dawdling forward.
I don't think even the umpire wanted to pay that one. He saw it happen and he waited 2 seconds before he blew his whistle and thought, I have to.
So Jamie Elliott from the square has 3 and now up to 22 for the season. And Collingwood's lead now is 58 points. The Magpies 17-10, 112. St Kilda 8-6-54. And we've still got half the final term to come.
Elliott's protection of the ball then, it's a great list, isn't it? We all know about his athleticism, his power jumping. I don't think I've seen a bloke of his size any time in footy jump as high as he, but he used it beautifully then because the kick came a bit early for him, so he got up high early and almost marked it in front of his face, and the defender could not get anywhere near it.
And that was Sean Dempster, the All-Australian defender, who's probably one of the best players on the lead at spoiling from behind, but couldn't quite get there.
Yep, that's a good point.
17-10 to 8-6. Middle stages of this final term. At the bounce in the middle, Longer got right up, but he knocked it straight down to Beams. He'll kick Collingwood up to half forward. For Solo, positioning himself against Murdoch. 3 came back in his path though. For Solo wins it at ground level and he's taken high by Ross. He's in the centre square, Alex Fasolo, so a shot is probably beyond question. He kicks it out for half forward. Pendlebury came from behind. Blair works it around, side bottom, and Pendlebury again. Feeds it out the back for Langdon. He'll pop it over the top for Fasolo. He's 55 out this time. He sends it back for Langdon. The kick inside the 50 is a good one. Blair was left underneath waiting for it. Hayes made the spoil off his fingertips. Shenton goes high with the tackle. And it's going to be Elliott again. Or is it Blair this time? It's Thomas. Had a little go under that pack, and Josh Thomas. I don't think Shazzy did get him high.
No.
It's quite an unusual call on what we just saw.
Belly button's high.
He did call high, didn't he? He said round the neck. He got nowhere near his neck, not even to his shoulder.
Well, it wasn't a trip anyway.
Josh Thomas kicks 2 first quarter goals. He has a chance in the final term. He'll miss, though, out to the right. So no damage.
Karma Berkey.
Done further.
Yes, look, perhaps we underestimated the frenetic pace of the first half because at the moment it looks like both teams are out on their legs and they're just waiting for that final siren to go.
It's like they've all been shot with a tranquilizer gun. And as the Saints work it out to Sipos, who marks at left half-back. He goes short to Montagna. That was a 15-metre pass down the line. So Montagna still at left half-back out on the City side. 17 minutes gone in the final term with that lead to Collingwood of 59 points. Up towards towards Revolt from Montagna. No one can mark and it goes out of play for a throw-in.
It's interesting because St Kilda off the bye and Collingwood have had 2 leading in.
Well, Collingwood did have that exhausting game last week against West Coast. And that was only 6 days ago. Thrown in. Adams dives on the football. He'll have to get it out here, otherwise he's in trouble. He did. Montagna grabs it. Collingwood players from all directions grab him. And it is going to be thrown up again.
Yeah, it has deteriorated the game in every way, hasn't it, compared with the first half contest.
He's playing out of obligation now.
Yes, I think you're right.
Third and fourth man up St Kilda had. Ray affected the tap, but only as far as Williams. He worked it around and the Pies will bring this out of defence. Langdon had another touch. He gave it away to Seedsman. Kicks across half-back for Young. Young for Pendlebury. Jones is with him. No mark taken for Solo. He's after the ball at the back. He gathers. Jones is after him. He brought him in. Pendlebury, though, gets it back. Gives it to Thomas, who kicks it for Cloak. 45 out from goal.
That was good. 3 bites, 2 bites, 1 bite.
He's taking us on the emotional journey with him, Travis Cloak. He's blown kisses after 1 goal. He's exalted to the heavens on the next. This is his most difficult shot. It's from the boundary. It's 50 metres out. It won't score. It'll land 15 out from goal. They jump at it. Thomas has a chance at the bottom of the pack. He's certainly got his boot to it, but he's missed out to the left. A couple of behinds in a row for Josh Thomas. Collingwood by 60, 10 goals next.
He's taken his opportunity tonight, Josh Thomas, as a late inclusion. 26 disposals and 2 goals, which does show the depth Collingwood does have. Oh, gee, a terrible kick into play, straight to Witts. You couldn't miss him. He's 260 centimetres. Somehow they managed to kick it straight to him. That was a clanger from Brodie Murdoch.
He kicked it over a guy who's 202 centimetres and hit the guy who's 210 behind him. Tough to do that.
I reckon I could get a kick out there at the moment.
He's desperately trying to dig a hole and get in the goal square. I feel sorry for him.
Jared Witts, the big ruckman from Collingwood, lumbers in and has kicked the goal.
Insult to injury.
66 points now, Collingwood's lead at the 20-minute mark of the final term. The Magpies 18-12, 120. St Kilda 8-6, 54.
It was funny at half-time. We were in the media room and one of the media guys is sitting next to David and Julie Cloak, and they were describing that as an emotional event for them as well.
And Cloak has... Let's go through his stats here, Travis Cloak. 21 disposals, 12 marks, 5 inside 50s, 4 tackles and 4 goals too.
That's a great game.
It is a terrific game. Clearly the best for him for the year.
I'll be interested to see whether Nathan gives him votes or not.
It's 5 in a row for Collingwood.
So back in the middle, Stanley seemed to land just a touch awkwardly from the ruck contest. Witts trying to barrel his way through. He's now in the hands of the smaller men, but they're having no more success. Kaffa and Stephen rise together. They've been partners for most of the night. Seb Ross went third man up. He knocked it straight down to Beams, who kicks Collingwood inside the 50 for Solo on the lead. Spoilmate on him. Cloak is playing Crummer. He wheels around, works the hand pass in the direction of Adams, who gathered it beautifully, pops it at goal and missed. Not for the first time.
No.
He has blown a few, Taylor Adams. hasn't kicked a goal yet in the black and white. He's looked the gift horse in the mouth a couple of times tonight.
Oh, that's set up here for another chance for Collingwood. Young bashes it back inside 50. Elliott's there, darts away from one, runs away from Schneider. The kick is away to the right, though, and another behind.
Well, they're missing up the opportunity here. They haven't set up enough opportunities to actually make that percentage gain significantly more. They're losing an opportunity here, Collingwood.
They're up by 68. Shenton, success with the kick in. Revolt has worked his way down there to go, right, we have to get ourselves out of this. So he's gone to take responsibility for it.
You watch, he's marking in defence and he'll run the whole way down to be the next one.
So he kicked it to Stanley, who goes down the line looking for longer, but coming back with the flight was Young to get a fist in and see it out of bounds.
That is super running. Adam, you picked it. He just started to run the moment he released the ball deep in the back 50. He's now coming into the forward 50. Terrific.
On the broadcast wing, it's gathered by Curran under the pack. Hand pass to Stephen. Works it around with Montagna. Dave back to Curran and Montagna again, and now to Ross. Through centre half back. He's on the kick across the centre square. It should be effective. It lands out in front of Dempster and skips on. Dempster gathers, goes long. Revolt is camped there. He's got 2 to beat now. Has to go the spoil. Young is caught by Malera. Good strong tackle. Out against the boundary. Lumumba wins it back for Collingwood and gives it for Langdon, who always seems to have a little bit of time and even more space. Gives it up to Sidebottom, who kicks it to White. He'll lob it out to Williams, running off centre half back. Sends it forward to the middle. Reaching up to mark is Josh Thomas from 52 out. He's had a good long ping. Oh, Cloak was being held in the goal square. That's the call. Neither full forward nor full back was aware that they were going to be the subject of an adjudication as that ball went harmlessly through for a behind. But Travis Cloak, it has been determined, was held. And so he'll kick his 5th. It won't quite be the exuberant celebration I wouldn't have thought from a gimme from a cheap free.
You sure?
But perhaps the gods are now smiling on Travis Cloak. He has 5, and it's just a one-fist-up affair. A handful at last for Travis Cloak. Collingwood by 74 points.
And the differential now, in terms of percentage, is becoming significant, isn't it? 7 or 8, my mathematics good.
Well, you certainly shouldn't be asking me about anything involving maths.
Well,
but
I realised that when I was asking the question and looking at you, your face wasn't giving me much confidence.
Slight panic look on my face.
Don't look up here.
It will probably be about a 7 or 8%.
That's what I thought, yeah.
I would say.
Which is significant if something, and I guess if you're looking for 10 or 12 out of the game, as we thought it might be, probably St Kilda have done better than we thought.
In the middle we go again. Dying stages of this game. Curran for the Saints gets the clearance with a rush kick towards left half forward. Adams scampers after it for Collingwood. Got the handball to Langdon. Handballs to Pendlebury. Now to Williams. Williams gets away from Longer. She moves well. Handballs back to Pendlebury. He's in the middle. Pendlebury handballs over the top to White. And White kicks towards Elliott. And Elliott has taken it again. Jamie Elliott, 45 metres out from goal, left of centre. He'd almost write this down. He's such a good set shot.
White seems to have got better as the game's gone on. I think his second half has been more influential.
I've just never seen a team like St Kilda just be so exhausted in this last 20 minutes.
Well, players walking back onto the ground coming through the interchange space.
It's all of them. They're all just look exhausted. So Jamie Elliott, I've already marked it down, 45 metres out. In he comes, the kick. It is a nice kick. A very nice kick. Started to hook a little bit late, but it was never going to miss. And he's got 4 goals for the night, Jamie Elliott. And Collingwood's lead now 80 points. Crowd tonight, 34,855.
The only one not happy about this goal fest is Alex Fasolo. He's lined himself a couple of times
he'll be
to
flat.
come out of the goal square. He's going, boys, let's see if we can create a bit of a paddock here and get me in the goal square, and the rest of you get up the ground. Trav, you've got 5, get out of the way.
Well, now he's really, he's equal goal kicker with two others. In fact, no, Travis has gone ahead of him.
Yeah, so his big night out, he's not so big anymore, so he'll be keen to get another one or two. So he's the closest Collingwood player to goals at the minute.
He'll still talk the best game in the aftermath, though. Collingwood by 80. Pendlebury hand passes over his head in the middle. Thomas keeps it in play. Keeps it loose at least. Ross was coming the other way. Williams, though, for Collingwood, spins his way out of trouble. Then he gets offloaded as he goes to kick. Montagna scrounging after it. Ross for the Saints. Hand passed it away to Hayes, Nunes, Bruce, Ray, and Nunes again to try to work it around to the wing. Billings has got a task against Cloak and Sidebottom. The superior numbers overwhelm them. Sidebottom up to Elliott. His 8th disposal and 9th disposal in the final term. He works it around to Thomas. Here's Fasolo on Blair on the lead. Fasolo got in his way, coming the other way. Ray and Ross combined for the Saints. Not quite out of it yet. Murdoch in the back pocket. Looks for Sipos at the defensive 50, and he takes the mark.
So Sipos kicks it very high, not very long, to a contest. Jesse White nearly took the mark. Went through his hands. Just took it away from Dempster. White kicks back to Blair, who marks no 15, plays on, handballs to Thomas. Will this be his third? Yes, it will be. So Josh Thomas, 29 disposals and 3 goals, as Alex Fasolo's chance of votes are definitely gone. Now, he might not even be the best players. Josh Thomas, 29 disposals. As we said, a late inclusion tonight. 12 contested possessions, 7 inside 50s and 3 goals too.
I've seen him play a number of times. Wilton could play, but he's almost not dominated, but he's been a prolific player tonight, and in all aspects.
Well, he had that period in the second, or the last third of last year where he was a real accumulator of the footy, but he had a knee injury through a lot of the pre-season, so he missed a lot of footy.
It's 7-6 to 1 behind in this final term. Collingwood have blown it out to 86 points, and they mightn't be done yet. Blair to Pendlebury out of the middle. Kicks Slews away at right half forward. Goldsack is after it. Murdoch is after him. Goldsack at the throw it away. And the umpire has called him on it. Murdoch for the Saints at half back. A 50-metre penalty as the ball wasn't returned. So around the city wing, the Saints come. Murdoch first up for the season tonight. His 9th game in all. And the whole field in front of him. He unloads it out into the forward pockets. Stanley has a jump at it. Can't mark. Sidebottom with a hand pass to MacArthur. Gives it off to Lumumba. Needs a bit of support, and Pendlebury is always that. Gives it around to Young now. Thought about the hand pass, but he does prefer the kick. And he lobs it out to Josh Thomas. And that's where it ends. A dominant win for the Magpies, who get the percentage boost with a commanding final term and bank an 86-point win.
Side by side they stick together to uphold the Magpies' name. See the barricades are shouting as all barricades should. Ships a cakewalk for the good old Collingwood.
Collingwood led at every change. 24 points at quarter time, 27 at the half, 39 at three-quarter time, and with a 7-0 final term, they extended it out to 86 points at the close. The final score, 21-14, 140 to St Kilda, 8-6-54 in front of 34,855 this Friday night.
Good old Collingwood forever. They know how to play the game. Side by side they stick together to uphold the Magpies' name. See the barricades are shouting as all barricades should. Oh, the premiership's a cakewalk for the good old Collingwood.
The percentage boost is to the tune of 11 points. Collingwood up from 107.9 to 118.6 as a result of an 86-point victory. The goal kickers, Travis Cloak booted 5. There was 4 for Fasolo and for Elliott, 3 for Josh Thomas and 2 for White, with singles to Blair, Witts and Beams. For St Kilda, 3 for Revolts and 1 each to Sipos, Stephen, Ray, Malera and Dunstan. Collingwood with its 7th win of the season to put themselves right in the mix of the teams competing for those top 4 places. And they'll have tougher tasks than tonight, but they get what they want out of it. After things ran against them early, Dane Swan and Brodie Grundy were late withdrawals and Nick Maxwell lost in the opening term. But the longer they went, the better they got it. Just before our news radio audience departs, David, give us your potted summary of what we saw.
Well, we saw a Collingwood that played well enough with the personnel that they bought. Remembering, as you mentioned, Ball and Swan and Grundy were all lost, and the captain, ex-captain Maxwell along the way. So they probably got the result they wanted. I don't think they'd be terribly pleased with the manner it was done. St Kilda got another game into a lot of people that have basic talent and are going to make this side better in the future.
And Berkey, just a short summary on the Saints. What do they get out of the night?
Not a great deal, to be totally honest. As I think what David said, it's another game into the young players, and every game you just learn something for every time you go at the footy, so that's what they'll be hoping.
So a lopsided Friday night, as was forecast, and that is how it's unfolded. 21-14, 140 Collingwood over St Kilda, 8-6-54. The Saints, they won 3 of their first 4 games, and it has been hard work since. So they're 3-7, Collingwood 7-3. The Indigenous round continues tomorrow, the highlight of which is the event which is staged at the MCG now, Dreamtime at the G, and that'll be heard in various places across the nation, with the long walk, Michael Long inspired, and then such a critical match for their seasons, the Tigers and the Bombers. But Collingwood successful on Friday night. Okay, we'll dip into this, get the song and an interview from the rooms. What did we learn?
Well, I think I'm starting to understand where Collingwood against West Coast Eagles last week. We thought it was a super game of footy, played at a very high standard. We're still not convinced as to where West Coast is. I'm probably less convinced tonight of the capacity of Collingwood with the personnel that they have at the level they're playing for them to be a top 4 team. Now, that might be a big statement. I was fairly convinced that they were progressing, that is, getting better collectively week by week, where they would be a Final 4 team.
Let's head into the rooms with Martin Blake.
Here they go, boys. Nick Maxwell came out of the coaches' rooms to join in the song there. He's blown out a calf. Looks like, it should be probably a 3 or 4 week injury. So that's not good.